and good evening and welcome to episode 27 of It's All Geek to Me, the pop culture chat show where three friends with varying degrees of nerd knowledge get together once a week to have a chat about all things geek. Now tonight is our special Harry Potter special, and joining us temporarily tonight because he's actually out performing some of his comedy, it's Mr. Chris Lumb. Come on, Chris Lumb. Hello, Lummy. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm all right. I was having a wee. I only just got on here.
Having a wee in an alleyway, were you?
The signal's terrible as well. I've had to stand right next to the pub to get a signal. So I'm
That's
outside
all
the
right.
pub here, look.
I can just see my internet frequency, and I am going to be as pixelated as heck. Going to be 8-bit Gittins at the minute. Shall we bring Webby out so he can say hello to you as well? Let's bring Webby out.
Yeah.
Oh, Expecto Patronums to on everybody.
Yo.
So, Lummy, tell us what's happening and why you're not with us tonight. No, that makes it... There you are. Oh, hang on.
There you are. I'm just at a gig in Horsforth tonight. So once a month we do this gig on a Monday night in Horsforth. So that's where I'm in central Horsforth. It's lovely.
In central Horsforth, no less. Wowzers. And what time are you on?
Fully enough, is right outside Harrison Ford's hotel right now. This is all a ruse.
I'm actually in Scotland. That's right.
Oh, brilliant. And what time are you on, Lummy?
About, what time is it? 7:30 now. So 7:45, I think we're starting. So 15 minutes.
Crikey, you nervous? How you feeling? You got your material down?
No, I don't do material, you know me.
So you're comparing, you're hosting the gig tonight, you're MCing?
Yeah, I'm comparing, so I'll nip on if I can in between.
Did you just stub out your imaginary cigarette? It looked like you threw it on the floor and stubbed it out. That was pretty good.
I'm a professional.
Yeah, don't be starting any forest fires in Harrogate, wherever you are, Horsforth.
Scotland. I mean Horsforth.
I can see a tree right next to you. Don't set that bitch on fire with your cigarette ends.
It's on fire.
Your fake cigarette ends.
We've got a very special guest this week, guys, because Lummy's going to be in and out of. So she's actually auditioning for the part of Chris Lumb. She is an impressionist. She's a podcaster. She's not an impressionist. She's an improviser. She's a podcaster. She's an absolute genius. She is the world's #1 Harry Potter fan, and she won June 2019 Lush's Employee of the Month. It's Natalie Smeaton, everyone. Come on, Nat.
Natalie, mother flipping Smeaton.
How you doing?
There she is.
Webby don't even know who I am. He can't even say my name.
I can't speak. I'm so excited.
How you doing, Nat? You're right. Just we got a few comments that have just come in. Actually, we got Martin. Hello. I know. I think 8-bit Rich should be my nickname from now on. I think that's all my talk is shit as an internet provider.
Martin.
Let me just. Hey, so hello, Martin. Lovely to see you. And we've got Big T. Got Big T. Look at Roman Reporter. Hey, we love a bit of Big T, we do. And we've got Daniel Gaunt as well. Hey, look, Dan.
Daniel.
How you doing?
Daniel.
Chris, you're not even
You got to the wrong house, you did.
I had him. I thought I'd track him down, got him. We'll have to call it off. Call it off, boys.
Oh.
So what's been going? Go on, Nat. How you doing? What's been going on?
I was just going to ask whether the second part of my audition is to fight Chris to the death. Is that true?
Yeah. One's at the ready. Yeah, you got your one.
I'm waiting for you in Horsforth.
And
we're going to duel it to the death.
As we know that Lummy was just using his wand prior to coming onto the stream there. In fact, he was
a bit flushed.
He was having a stream out of his wand.
You're going to be careful, Nat. He's been practicing his unforgivable curses.
Absolutely. See what he does? He doesn't shake it, and then he just flicks it in your direction, so you get wee in your eye.
Yeah.
That's pretty unforgivable. Nat, just for you, mate. Just for you.
Hey, I'm Martin.
And hey, Bulletproof Blouse. Hi, how the heck are you?
Welcome to the show.
Chris going to be dressing up as Ali McBeal again to sneak into Harrison's hotel.
Harrison knows that he's going to do that now. Harrison's onto him.
You've got all the fans tonight, Nat. Look, special guest.
Oh,
Like
my
internet
goodness.
royalty.
Tell us
Big
about
team.
it.
Yeah,
Been
absolutely.
waiting.
What are you going to do, Lummy, if you got to get off?
Hey up.
Were you about to say? What you got to do?
My signal's going. So it keeps skipping. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll leave you all in the capable hands of each other. I've passed the torch now. It's over to Nat.
Bless. Oh, look at that. See you later, Lum. Good luck for the gig. Break a leg.
Have a good
Let us
gig.
know how it goes on.
I'll pop back on. I'll pop back
Don't
on.
drink too many beers.
Speaking of popping, with
Alone at last.
it's pop not broth, not bulletproof blood. Just forgot to change the account. So hello, pop not broth.
Hello.
All these aliases. It's brilliant.
Yeah, way to take all the cool internet names. That's just not bad.
Yeah, that's amazing. So
I need to work on mine. It's so unimaginative.
Webby 79.
79.
Just giving everybody a clue as to what all your passwords are. It's just all the numbers of your password. It's going to be his date of birth.
Yeah,
there we go.
No imagination. I've told you that before.
So what's been going on with you this week, Webby? Anything cool happen this week? Anything to share with us?
It's been all right. Yeah, it's been a nice week. We've had a lovely. I've been working, man. Just working, cracking on. I'm working on booking some holiday time actually because I'm a bit stressed with it all. It's too much.
Yeah, I mean, because people haven't had enough time off, have they, in the last 18 months?
No, it's when you're dealing with other people's mental health problems all the time.
No,
it's important to take a little bit of time to.
Of course it is.
To digest a little bit.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. Do we need to chat? Do we need like a group share chat? Is that what you want?
No, good.
Sure.
Shall we come round your house?
I'll just do I'll do my job on myself. That's what. Do you know what I mean? I'll just apply the rules of my job. A bit of advocacy on my own self.
Nice.
Apart from that, no, looking forward to having a lady on the show. It's been a while.
It's
Who was the last lady that you had?
Sausage fest every week.
Last lady. Well, we had
Christmas.
Christmas, yeah. We had some guests. It was fun. It was fun that we opened it up to the community. And welcome to everybody else in the community. Feel free to pop a comment down below and we will share it. Get involved. We are building a community here, and the more people involved in the community means there's more knowledge. And we love a bit of knowledge, do we?
I love that.
No, it's good, isn't it?
Lovely
I just
knowledge.
made that up right now.
It was beautiful.
I just expecto patronums that right out my thought box.
Nice one.
Do you know what? I've got to say, Nat, your wand looks like a really skinny shit.
This was about 57p from a fancy dress shop when I was pretending to be Bellatrix Lestrange. This is why. Because it was going to be a bit of a messy party and I didn't want one that was going to get... Yeah. Ironically, though, this one lasted the entire party.
Wow.
Even though it's a really rubbish, cheap one. So
wow. I mean, I didn't mean to one shame you, obviously. I mean, that seems like a really inappropriate thing to do.
Look, the wand chooses the wizard, and this is my wand, and I can kill a man with it just because of that end. See that? It's got a knob on it.
Big T. No, not a boxing role. It's most definitely my Gryffindor dressing gown. Gryffindor dressing gown.
Yeah, what was Gryffindor?
Is that a wand, Nat? Is it a wand?
Is it?
Where did
only time will tell. That'd kill you. Come on now. Come on.
It would, yeah.
It wouldn't kill me. Right. So Nat, tell us a little bit about yourself. What you've been up to? Because lockdown's been a long process for everybody.
Yeah.
How have you been entertaining yourself? I mean, besides the wand, how have you been entertaining yourself during lockdown? Have you been getting creative? Have you been doing some improvisations?
Well,
is that what you call it? Is that the technical term?
The improvisations.
Well,
we couldn't get out and improvise because of lockdown, but we did create a podcast instead. So we were
technically still improvising.
Face.
No, I mean you couldn't improvise, so you improvised your way out of it. I think that's pretty clever.
I apologise, Webby.
It was a compliment.
That is very true. Yeah,
sorry.
I take it and I apologise and I give you apologies. But yeah, no, I did a lot of knitting. I did a lot of, but I worked quite a lot of the lockdown.
What did you knit? How many things did you knit?
I
knit lots of things.
Genuinely did knit, especially in the first lockdown. Something like a thing a week, sometimes two things a week. Like
but when you say a thing, I mean, you could like knit a little button and it takes you 20 minutes, and it's like, yeah, I knitted a thing.
Like blankets for the cats, jumpers, socks, scarves.
Did you store enough bath bombs from Lush to get you through lockdown?
No, nobody did. Nobody could get through that lockdown with enough bath bombs, Webby. Come on.
So how was life at Lush? Did you have to figure out some sort of cucumber antibacterial kind of concoction face mask or anything?
I was just running around the streets grabbing anything I could. Dandelions, people shopping, just mud. Yeah. It's all natural.
I knew that was what was behind Lush's brand. So do you get a discount and do you get freebies, and have you ever stolen from work?
So in that order, we do get a discount. It's 50%. Which means, but you do spend twice as much because you're like, I've got the big bottle instead of being sensible. What was the second question? Forgotten it. Do I get a discount? Do
you get free things, and have you stolen anything?
You don't get free things because the discount's so good. But if a bath bomb breaks, for instance, we would look the other way if a team member wanted to take it home and try it in a bath. That's fine. Never stolen from Lush again because the discount's so good. So
I got a better question than all them questions. What I want to know about Lush, is there anything in Lush that tastes as good as it smells?
Yes.
Have you ever actually took a chomp of anything and gone, wow, surprisingly?
This smells good enough to...
There is. Many of the things smell amazing and taste vile, except the Otifix face mask, which does genuinely taste like banana porridge.
Ooh.
True fact.
Can you eat it? Is it fit for human consumption?
Could I spread it in a sandwich?
Okay, I have to say, for the law, please don't eat any of our face masks. But what I will say is it's got that much oat, almond and banana in. It doesn't taste like a face mask.
Okay.
I want to taste the chemicals, I think.
You're in the wrong place.
Hey, Webby.
There
we are. With Nat on the stream, it's gone up to an 11, and I bet she's watched Highlander.
Yeah, baby.
Have you watched Highlander, Nat?
I have watched Highlander, yeah.
There you are, see?
Yeah.
And
honest review, is it about really should I watch it, or is it all right not to?
You know what? I didn't mind Highlander. Yeah, we're all right. Yeah.
That's a sell, isn't it? I didn't mind it.
I didn't mind it. I wouldn't say like I would rush out to buy the limited edition DVD with director's commentary. But
that is a selling point, isn't it? If somebody says to you, you know what, you might be surprised, you know.
Yeah, give it a go.
I will, on your recommendation alone.
Pop Not Broth makes a very valid point here, Natalie. How is a 50% discount better than a 100% discount?
It's because, here's me not being funny and getting on my soapbox. Because Lush.
Soapbox.
See what I did there?
Professional comedians, man.
Lush gives so much money to charity. Like, Lush gives away, and this is not even a joke, anything between 10 and 20 million pounds a year to charity.
Wow. That almost seems careless.
All silly, almost.
Yeah.
And
that's almost more than I give.
Exactly, Webby. They're after you. They're coming for you, and because of all the almost all of the ingredients support small businesses or cooperatives. If you steal something from Lush, you're essentially taking it out of the pockets of small charities, cooperatives, women's groups.
That's how they get you now. That's how
people
they get
like
you.
that. So it would be like stealing from a charity shop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but on the plus side, if you steal from a soap shop, you're assured of a clean getaway. Am I right?
Oh, Lord. He went there.
Oh, dear.
He did go there. He did indeed go there. Now, guys, this... I'm quite impressed, to be fair. Now, Webby, I can't help but notice something different about you this week. Something a little bit different about you.
Well, it's been hiding for quite some time.
Have you had a fall?
I am the original boy who jizzed.
The boy who jizzed.
Yeah.
The boy who jizzed. Yeah, I jizzed on Lord Voldemort. It made him really cross. Pushed me over. That's where I got this bloody other side. This scar.
Yeah.
Don't forget which side it is. I've had it that long.
It's just been painted on. No, of course.
It's been years. I just get used to it. I often think it looks like a stray bit of hair, like a curly pubic hair.
Yeah. Did you? Like, so when you were a kid, did you ever pretend to be like Superman, or like it's a little Z-shaped kiss curl?
Well, no, because everybody knows all you need to be Superman is to tie a towel around your neck.
And wear your underpants outside your trousers.
Pants on your trousers, yeah.
That's it,
yeah.
That's how I used to play Superman. Until I realised it wasn't much point in playing Superman because he's not the best.
Just
and skid marks as well.
This is a complete tangent, but I thought I'd share this with you. Joe Hill wrote a really, really good short story in his collection called 21st Century Ghosts, which is a really nice take on a superhero story, but with a really good twist at the end. Ooh. Joe Hill, 21st Century Ghosts, one of the short stories in there. It's brilliant. I'm
really pleased that you call him Joe Hill instead of Stephen King's son, which is what everybody else calls him.
Funny enough, I nearly went. You mean Stephen King's son? So I'm really glad that Nathan just qualified that and didn't make me, preventing me making myself
fair, man. I mean, if you're going to be, there's so many celebrities out there that have kids, and then the kid goes on to do what they do. It'd really be much more surprising if Joe Hill was like a cabinet maker or something. Do you know what I mean? Because to go into the horror writing field when your dad's Stephen King and has literally written 8 million books, like what?
But then makes it sound So it makes it sound like Stephen King is God and Joe Hill is Joseph the carpenter. So that's nice. I like that. Maybe do you know what? I should phone him up and say you should write that.
What? Do Joe or Stephen?
Joe. Just be like, hey, be better than your dad. Then here's an idea. I've got an idea, right? So your dad's God and you're Joseph the carpenter, like that. And then he'd be like, that doesn't work because Jesus was the son of God. You're an idiot. And I'd be like, shit.
And then he'd delete your number.
Yeah. And then he'd delete my number. Yeah. Or block me.
Just stick to Harry Potter. Shit about the Bible, buddy.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Now I like the fact that
has Harry Potter outsold the Bible yet? Do we know?
No, the thing that has. No, it hasn't. The thing that has outsold the Bible is, or comes a close second, is Grand Theft Auto.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. I've got a couple more comments. We've written one to ourselves, apparently.
Yeah.
I love us too.
Somebody's missing out there.
A big team. I like Lush, but when the staff come up to you and they're all extra nice, my brain goes into a fight or flight mode, and I'm uneasy. Do staff not giving to? Yeah, I get that.
Did you all see that really, really funny meme that was halfway through the first lockdown? Somebody put out not a meme, a tweet that just said, when this lockdown finishes, I'm going to go into Lush to get 3 months worth of aggressive human contact in 10 minutes.
When I go in there, they never give me any attention. They're just messing about with fucking bubbles. Messing about with big bubbles. No, I'm only kidding. They're actually really good.
Yeah, they're always
I'll tell you
really
what, that's
nice.
the only shop that I ever wore a face mask in before lockdown started, before COVID. Because after 10 minutes of being in there, I feel like I'm actually ingested the bloody stuff. I don't know how you do it, breathing it in all day.
You don't smell it.
You
don't smell it.
Really?
Well, you get used to it, don't you?
Yeah, you can't smell it anymore.
Like
I was going to say, I bet you got lovely smelling farts, though. I bet it's got to get in there somehow. I bet it's got to get into your farts.
Every excretion that I have.
Cry bubbles and things like that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I sweat perfume.
That's the next level for Lush, is inventing some kind of bar of soap that you can eat, but when you trump, bubbles come out. And when they pop, they smell like passion fruit. Amazing.
Webby, in that thing about talking on the internet and just being careful what you say because you don't want to get yourself in trouble.
That is not true. What a load of shit. You lie.
You are in so much trouble, Webster.
Ganging up on you, Webby. Hey, them. How you doing?
Joe,
and hello, Joe, as well.
It's right. Joe is too posh for Lush. She won't even entertain that. She'll be like, nah, I only like Malton Brown and blah blah blah. No, but
she does.
Oh, in that case, Joe, get Webby to buy you some bathhouse stuff. I'll send in the link. You'll like that.
Hey, it's a birthday at the end of the month. I'll hook you up.
Webby. I'll send you it.
I'll shout you some. I'll shout you some. I'll be after you for some 50% discount for the most romantic birthday present ever.
And for Martin, did Stephen King write a book of demolishing caravans? What? I don't know, Martin. You might have to explain that to us.
I don't know.
I don't know. He might have done. He might have done.
Probably. He's covered a lot of ground.
I would love to read it.
Do you think that's one of those unpublished stories that he's got that you can pay £1 to make a film of or do whatever you want with?
Probably,
you just buy £1 to make a film about demolishing caravans.
What's this one about, Stephen? Well, a bunch of people live in a caravan park and one day it just falls to pieces.
Are you getting confused with Jeremy Clarkson?
Me? I'm getting
because he doesn't like
caravans.
He doesn't like caravans. Now, Natalie, obviously this is a geek show. What is your geeky secret? It's something that we ask all of our guests starting now.
We were working on Geekret, but we couldn't.
Just geeky secret. Geekret. What's your Geekret?
My Geekret. Well, I mean, I've mentioned him already. I am a massive Stephen King nerd, like a huge films, books, Stephen King nerd, as well as like being a massive knitting nerd. So my geeky secret, my Geekret, whatever you want to put it, is Stephen King. I love him. I want to marry him.
Would you kiss him?
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's the weirdest if you met, like, if like he was coming out, if he'd been doing a talk and he came out of a stage door or some sort of public appearance and you happened to meet him, what's the weirdest thing that you'd probably do?
Oh God, there's a lot of things. Well, I would have a stack of all of my books in a barrow, and I'd expect him to. I don't even know, because you've put me in a position where if it happened, I would just stand and then I would cry a lot, and then they would get security because there was just this British woman sobbing, and there would be snort. I'm not a pretty crier, and then I would just get slowly moved away, and nothing. I physically. This sounds so stupid, but I physically, genuinely wouldn't be able to speak to him. I just wouldn't.
You might be Mark Chapman in that scenario. Have you ever heard that story about Stephen King? Stephen King was signing autographs at a book convention round about 1979 or something like that, on 1980. And he's signing books, signing away. This guy comes along, and it's where he got the phrase, "I'm your biggest fan," and got the idea, the nugget for misery, because he signed this autograph to his biggest fan, Mark Chapman, from Stephen King. And he went off, and 2 days later, this guy killed John Lennon. What? I swear. Yeah. And that's where he got the genesis for misery. I'm a massive Stephen King fan as well. I mean, I've read, apart from his last like 5 books, which I haven't got round to reading yet, I've read a lot. Particularly love The Dark Tower, man.
Yeah, you're a big fan of The Dark Tower. Yeah.
It blew me away. I wasn't expecting it like it. Yeah, exactly. That's the genesis for misery. It's
Webby,
no, I think Poggleboth was referring to Nat at the Stephen King.
What should I read from his recent stuff?
I say, have you read the Mr. Mercedes trilogy yet, Nathan?
I read the first one.
The second and the third are brilliant, and The Outsider is brilliant, and The Institute is brilliant.
Right, the most recent one I read and really enjoyed was one that I don't think anybody else really dug, but I liked it. Drew McKee. I thought it was
I love Drew McKee.
I thought it was a really good ghost story.
Yeah. It's great. It's horrible at the end. It's terrifying. Made me cry.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah. Really cool.
Tell you what else is really good. Those 3 crime books he did: Joyland, Colorado Kid, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. Really good.
It sounds like I'm about 20 books behind.
Later. There you go. Thank you, Em. Yeah.
Is that the one that you want me up to?
Yeah, that's the one I can remember. Later, Joyland and the Colorado Kid are all very good.
Okay.
Yeah, but The Outsider was great, but you need to read the full Mr. Mercedes trilogy before you read Outsider. Sorry, Rich, go on.
Right.
No.
That's good. I'm all caught up.
It's nice to see somebody who's just got such a pure love for an artist. My friend Chloe, she's a massive Michael Ball fan. She loves Michael Ball to the point where she got a snow globe, right? And she emptied the snow globe and put a picture of Michael Ball. But it's like, but she got it from like one of the little TV Times. So it's like a tiny little picture that she had to enlarge. But she enlarged it all distorted. So it's like this Shrek like Michael Ball behind this magnified snow dome. Right? Yeah. Behind this magnified snow dome, right? And she met him after a performance of The Woman in White, I think it was. She met him at stage door. Met him. He was there signing autographs for people, and suddenly he stopped and went, "Wait, did you just kiss my shoe? And Chloe was on all fours and she just kissed his shoe. Just out of nowhere, didn't even say hello to him or anything. Just,
oh my gosh.
Just kissed
Michael
his
Ball.
shoe.
Am I thinking of the right person? I keep thinking of
the definitely straight married Michael Ball, yes.
Yeah, oh, he does radio too, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah. He's brilliant. Bit of ball.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, ball.
It was in hairspray and stuff, wasn't it?
Come on, Webby, you love a bit of ball.
Right,
okay.
Ball.
Remember when he got run over? The thing we talk about Stephen King, not Michael Ball now.
Yes,
remember when he got run over and broke his back?
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually one of it inspired quite a few of his books, did him getting almost killed.
The whole process
of him
writing himself into the Dark Tower, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he woke up from his coma and he was like, right, I got to write this shit while it's still in my head.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know what I love about his work the most is you read his early stuff that he can't remember because he was blacked out because he was on drugs. Yeah. And he's almost as surprised. You get to the end of it and it's almost like Stephen King is as surprised as you are by the end. He's like, oh my God, that's amazing. But when you read his older stuff now that he's read when he's like clean and sober and just writing because he loves writing, it's a completely different feel. And my favorite things about him are, even though his writing style has changed, and I love both writing styles, it always feels, and J.K. Rowling did this in the Harry Potter books and the Casual Vacancy.
Segue, buddy. I like it.
That's good.
It always feels like they are reassuringly stood just behind you. Yeah, I love when an author like allows you to experience every second of the danger, and this author will allow you to get attached to people and grieve for them and be on the edge of your seat for them. But at no point do I ever feel when I read J.K. Rowling or Stephen King that they've stepped away from me and they're just leaving me to get on with it. Yeah, I always feel like they're there, and that's
I like some of the devices that Stephen King uses. Is when you get attached to a character, and it happens in a few books where you get to the end of a chapter and it goes, you're reading about this character that you love, and it'll go something like, and that's the last thing they ever heard him speak, and you're like, what? I mean, because you know he's dying, but you know he's going to die, but you don't. And he does it loads of times. And I tell you what else is really brilliant. It always sticks in my mind is the last, is it the prologue to Pet Sematary, the book?
Yeah.
Where he sat there and the kid comes in behind it. Oh, he's proper creepy.
Oh God, yeah, chills.
Stephen King takes a lot of shit for being good at what he's good at. You know, people go, I don't like Stephen King. He describes stuff too much. He's too good at writing. I'm like, he's too descriptive. And you're right. Yeah, if he's talking about a carpet, he'll tell you about the dust on the carpet and the weft of the carpet and. It goes on, but it's fucking brilliant at it, and those little details are
weaves
really
the
good.
Story around you. It gives you a place to be.
Like a carpet.
Okay, I've got a question for both of you. So Stephen King, I don't know what a weft is, but I thought I'd just skip over that. I was just like, what the fuck is a weft?
The carpet.
The weft of the carpet. Yeah, I used to be a carpet cleaner, and I'd never heard of a weft.
That's why
I cleaned probably the dirtiest carpets along with cleaning the carpets in Kate Moss's house. Kate Moss's house. I had to clean the carpets in her walk-in wardrobe, right? And she was out, but her knickers were all over the floor of her walk-in wardrobe. And I tried to find her housekeeper because I was like, I shouldn't be touching these or sniffing them or anything like that. So I did it, or put in my pockets. I can't stop. Where's the maid? Maid, stop it.
The worst thing was when he finally got the carpet cleaner on and he moved a few of these pants Pete Doherty were lying underneath him.
No. Oh, I've gone 8-bit again. No, but what she did have was in her downstairs loo, she had a signed photo from David Bowie, and it was to my darling Kate from Uncle Rock. Which sounded a bit creepy, to be fair, doesn't it? It does sound a bit weird. But anyway, the dirtiest carpets. I got picked up at 3 a.m. by my boss. It drove me to some offices in central London, and we had to clean the carpets during the night, obviously, before the place opened the next morning. So my boss is cleaning the carpets in the reception area, and you got this sort of, those big floor polishers. It's one of those, but with some cleaning fabric underneath it. Sort of, it hooks up the weft, Libby, right?
There you are.
It hooks up the weft right? And he went, so I'm going to do in here. You do those little offices there. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. I'll do that. All enthusiastic, like, and because I like work, a bit of hard work. So I go in and I've got to click on my hands and knees and clean on my hands and knees. And I did it, and I came out. As I came out, the boss was wetting himself laughing, and he was like, didn't get stuck into any of the literature, did you? And I was like, what? And I went back in, and there was a couple of pornos in each of these rooms, and it was a sperm bank that we were cleaning the carpets of.
Wow.
Yeesh.
Boom.
Wow.
Probably the filthiest carpets in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to It's All Weft to Me this week. Hope you enjoyed the carpet talk.
So, guys, just before we go on to the Harry Potter
You're more excited than carpets. You telling me we're something more important than carpets to talk about?
We've been chatting. You've been chatting about Stephen King, and there's a lot of his work that's been put out there, been turned into films or in TV series and things like that. Which one of his unmade sort of stories that you've read would you, if you were to direct it, what would you like to sort of get your teeth stuck into?
Sorry. I don't know whether this is allowed because apparently they are soon to release. Well, they're soon going to make it into a film, but I'm going to go with it because it's not been made into a film yet or released. He did a novella called The Long Walk, which is in.
I love it.
It's amazing. It's in the Bachman books. It's in the same thing as a Running Man.
Brilliant story.
Oh my God, isn't it? Is, in my opinion, other than maybe another 2 or 3 of his works, the best. One of the best.
Oh my God, you're just like in my mind, Nat.
It's so good, isn't it?
My favourite short story by him.
Yes,
because
it's
literally just people walking until they drop dead. They've got to piss themselves, shit themselves. They've got to sleep while they're walking. They're not allowed to stop walking. That's it, Rich. They just one end of America across.
Yeah, it's a game show.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool. They
really,
enter
really
it
cool.
willingly. It's like this awful dystopian future, like the same one as the Running Man. And they enter this contest willingly, and literally everybody walks. The last one standing wins their heart's desire, and you just follow one character in this.
That sounds awesome.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's a bit.
Yeah.
I think,
what about you, Webby? Same for you, or
what about me? Long Walk's a brilliant shout, but there's so many good ones that have been made but not made. In the early 90s, there were a lot coming out. Like it seemed like every week you'd get like The Dark Half or Needful Things or something. And we never quite nailed them. There's quite a few I think need a decent treatment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They only ever got that one. The Dark Half is terrible. It's not the best book either.
It's such a shame, isn't it? Like, sorry, go on. I got excited.
It's not the best book, but the thing about Stephen King is, even when he's got writer's block, he'll write a book about it. There's a book called Insomnia, Rich, where literally the character's got a writer's block for the first 60 pages, talking about having writer's block. It's weird. But then he weaves this story into it, and it's quite good. And it's also attached to the Dark Tower because there's the men in yellow coats and stuff, and that guy who lives upstairs who's come from the other world. It's really cool.
Doom McKee, I'd love to see the Doom McKee. They should remake Running Man. Absolutely, they should remake Running Man because it was nothing like the book. Nothing.
And I think as a twist, they could put Arnie in it as like the game show host or something like Killian. In it.
They've only really made a few good Stephen King film adaptations, in my opinion. Stand By Me, Green Mile, Misery, The Mist,
Green Mile as well.
Shawshank,
The Shining, which doesn't really count because he hated it.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything like the book. Apt Pupil was good as well.
I tell you what, though, the fact that it wasn't anything like the book is not a detriment to the Shining movie because there are bits in the book that even Stanley Kubrick would be like, "What? How am I going to make this look good?" The fucking the topiary that attacks them, the fucking hedges that it's nuts. And the enemy is a fucking boiler in the cellar. So all they have to do to get rid of the ghost is blow up the fucking boiler. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But there are bits of genius in it as well.
Yeah, that's what he does, isn't it?
Yeah, I need to finish.
Oh my God, it's great. Oh my God, it's really good. Genuinely, I'm not just saying it. Really,
Have they finished after one season then, or are they going to?
Yeah, it finishes at the end of the book. Well, they had
really?
Yeah, they had a tiny bit in to it that wasn't in the end of the book, but I don't think was a detriment to the story. But it was very. I thought it was very Please do. Yeah, I thought it was very faithful. A few bits were different, but it was very
they've
faithful.
modernised it, though, haven't they? They've set it in the modern world, which brings a whole different thing to it.
And can I just say that comment about Dreamcatcher? I also really enjoyed the Dreamcatcher book. Yeah. Great book.
Yeah.
I love The Stand, right? The Joke of The Stand is one of his longest books, Rich. And I finished it. And I was really, really loved it, really enjoyed it. And then a month later, he released the redacted version, the unedited version, with another 600 pages. I was like, you motherfucker, I've just finished this book, so I've never read the full version because it came out just after I finished it.
Well,
typical.
Speaking of book adaptations into films, we are looking at the Harry Potter series, mostly because Lummy isn't here and he hasn't seen any of the Harry Potter films or books. I don't know how he's got as old as he is. Just very, very quickly before we do, because I don't want to ignore. Boom.
Oh, I didn't watch the film.
Oh no, wait, did I watch it? No, I don't think I watched the TV series of it. I did watch the film. I didn't see Dreamcatcher movie yet, Big Team All, but I did love the book.
Okay.
So we are going to be looking at Harry Potter, and obviously starting off with the one that started the whole thing off, the Philosopher's Stone. Now, how old were you? Did you read the books first? Did you watch the films first? How old were you when you got into the Harry Potter sort of genre of or franchise, Nat?
I read the books first, and I used to. This is how long ago it was. You remember the Borders in Leeds City Centre?
Yeah.
The bookshop. I used to work there, so it's going to be like 2002, something like that, 2001, 2002. And I used to work there, and everybody was going loopy because the third book was about to be released.
Right.
And I had spent my entire time working at the bookshop going, "I'm not reading Harry Potter. I'm for kids." And I was on the last hour of my shift, which was 9 till 10 at night, on the till, and book 1 was right there because we were selling book 3. And I just thought, I'm going to read the first chapter, and then I can say, oh, I started it, and I didn't finish it. Started reading it on the till and bought it, and book 2 and book 3, and read them in a week.
Did you get a discount?
Yes, I did. Yes.
How much was the discount? How much was
He's getting the job where he gets a fucking discount. He's obsessed by how much.
I'm self-employed. I don't get discounts anywhere, so it's just.
I'd say it wasn't much with Borders. I think it was about 10%, so you didn't get a lot. I can't remember off the top of my head very well.
It's exactly what I was going to say, but I'm really not. I liked Borders.
But I fell in love with it right there and then I had to wait then for book 4, 5, or 6, etc. Sorry, go on, Webb.
I had a similar thing, a bit of snobbery about it. I was like, I'm not reading that, a kid's book. And then in secret, when I went to see my dad in Ireland one time, I went to Leeds train station. I thought, I'll buy a book for the train and then the ferry. And I finished the first book by the time I got to my dad's house in Ireland. It wasn't very long, and I wasn't overly impressed. Now, I happened to mention it to my girlfriend at the time that I'd read it. And unbeknownst to me, she bought me the second and third one for Christmas that year. So I kind of felt obliged to read them. But literally, from what I remember from the first chapter of the second book, I was like, right, boom, got it straight away. And then I was a fan. Not as simple as that. And by the time I finished the third book, again, I was in the same position as Nat, waiting for the next books to come out. I remember it was so bad that one year, it must have been 2003 or 4, when the 5th book came out, Order of the Phoenix, I was going to Glastonbury to work. I was working Glastonbury Festival, and I had to get up early to go buy the book, and I took it with me to Glastonbury, and I sat and read it while I was supposed to be.
Yeah, I was there the same year as you, and we met up. That was when Ben Harper played.
Yeah,
I was there that year. Yeah, no, so it was around about 2001. My housemate at university was reading it, my mate Gary, and we had loads in common. We were in a band together and stuff like that. So it was like, well, okay, this thing that he keeps telling me about. I think the third book might have just come out by then, and he was like, you've got to get into it. They're great books. They're really, really good. So I gave it a go, and it was just awesome. It was it just had me straight away and made me. I mean, okay. Did it make you want to go to a wizarding school and be a wizard as well? And kind of, as an adult, half convince yourself that stuff might exist?
Well,
I'm
44, so by the time we got to the 2000s, I was already like 26, 27. I I was too old to be able to. It's a set of books.
Nat, you're only a year older than me, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, but I am a man-child, so you know.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you know, we've all got one at heart. But I felt like I was too old to be like, no, where's my invite to Hogwarts? But at the same time, it is one of the few series of books that I really genuinely wish that I could, one, read again and have no memory of reading them, so I can go through the roller coaster that was the series, and two, read when I was younger. Yeah, I'd love to read.
Okay, so when was the last time you read the books?
I would say, for me, about 2 years ago, I read the whole series again.
Okay, did you? What about you, Robbie?
Long time ago.
Okay, so I do a periodic reread of the book. I just kind of go through all of it periodically over and over again. The films at Christmas, around about Christmas time, they're really good Christmassy sort of films. The books I will do maybe once every couple of years, and then I'll do the audio books occasionally, just because Stephen Fry brings a whole new dimension to them. He's just absolutely brilliant. And I found, actually, listening to the audiobooks, because I've seen the films so many times in between either listening to them or reading the books, there was loads that I had sort of bogged down as lore, you know, or this is how it happened. And actually, when you go back to the books, you think, shit, there's all this as well. All this stuff's happening that didn't happen in the films. So I do feel like it's almost like watching them, reading them again. Sometimes. I like reading them for the first time.
Yeah, that's true, actually, yeah.
First Harry Potter films on 10 last night, so I watched in prep for today's show. Nice. John Hurt and Alan Rickman, amazing in it. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, God, Alan Rickman. Oh, God. Jeez.
So, you know, my best friend was so smug. My best friend was so smug because all the way through the books, as every one of them came out, even at the end of the book that we'll talk about later, when he did the unforgivable thing to Dumbledore, she was behind Snape. There's something more about this character. I think he's brilliant. He can't be bad. And then she got to the end of the last book just before me. And then she waited until I finished it just so she could go, I told you so. Like, she had the biggest, smugest, I told you so for weeks. Like, just didn't let it go.
The thing I loved about Alan Rickman in this, it's a story that I've heard Daniel Radcliffe say, is that, Alan Rickman was one of two people that Joe Rowling had told what the ending of the book was going to be, and certainly what his character's arc was, because that, you know, obviously as an actor you're going to need to know all this background story, and everyone else knew that Alan Rickman had been told some information that nobody else was allowed to know, and he really used it to his advantage. So like when they'd give him some direction, he'd be like, oh no, I don't think my character would do that because of this thing that Joe told me, and it was nothing to do with the end of it all. It's like, I don't want to do that. No, it doesn't fit. Fucking hell, Alan Rickman, you're a genius.
Oh my God, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, totally.
For me, the first Harry Potter, the Philosopher's Stone, is the one that I've got to read and I've got to watch to get to the point. So for me, the reason why there was a distinction between the books is the first book is a kid's book. It's clearly a kid's book, but it very quickly goes from that to being something more than that. It's too complex for most tiny little brains, I guess. I don't know. There's shit going on. So once you start
mature with it,
a lot more,
as a kid, so the content becomes more age appropriate.
Once it starts being more mature, it gets more interesting. I mean, it could have gone a little bit more around about book 5. I mean, surely they could have put some more stuff in about like the woes of puberty and, you know, and trying to fit in.
I know, rather than fascist dictatorships. Yeah.
But as for those, you know, you got those people who staunchly believe that Hermione ends up with the wrong person, and it should have been Harry and Hermione and all that. I'm like, come on, man. I mean, Hermione's a great character, but she's bloody annoying.
Well, she was supposed to end up with... Well, no. So in the original, her idea had always been that Hermione and Ron get together. But as it went on, she kind of realised that it should have really been Harry and Hermione, but she stuck with her gut instinct. And there's a few times that she did that with characters that she killed off that she really regrets killing off in the series. But she was like, no, it was my original idea, so I stuck with my gut instinct, even though...
she went bloody kill happy, didn't she? That last book, she was left, right, and centre. oh, I'm going to kill them. Oh, every chapter, I'm like, J.K. Rowling,
Avada Kedavra! Yeah, everybody. Yeah, Avada Kedavra, you too, bitch. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that was my favourite thing was Molly. Molly Weasley. She was
that's one of my notes. Not my daughter, you bitch.
Yeah. Oh, great line.
What an incredible.
Brilliant.
Yeah, everybody gets a role. Everybody gets something to, they follow everybody through to their.
My favourite character arc though is Neville Longbottom. He will always be one of my favourite characters.
Yes.
What an absolute
Matthew Lewis. Yeah, Matthew Lewis. He's a big Leeds United fan. He actually does the Leeds United Club official podcast. From America, and he's brilliant. He's really good. He's such a lovely lad, and he's also that one that because Neville, like in the film, when you see the kid that like when you see young Matthew Lewis as a sort of 10-year-old boy, however old he was, and then you look at him now, what a transformation!
Yeah, when he long bottomed up.
Remember when he got hot and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Longbottom's hot."
On a chair with his top off. Yeah, like, I've got to say though, what I absolutely loved about the first book was that actually the hero at the end of it was Neville Longbottom, because he got the points. So Gryffindor won the House Cup because he stood up to his friends, and like, do you know what I mean? So she didn't make it. We all know Harry because he gets really whiny in some of the books. We love Harry, we love Ron, we love Hermione in the books. I love Hermione. That's a different story in the films. But like the actual hero in the end of book 1 was Neville.
Yeah, of course he was.
Yeah, and also there's that whole question about him being born on a similar date, and there's
either of them could have been the chosen one.
It was Voldemort that made that decision.
Yeah, it would have been an interesting test if they'd just gone.
Actually, and they both lost their parents.
Surprise! It's all been about Neville all along.
But Neville.
Hang on a minute, right? Before we get too distracted, we did a best of worst, right?
Well, we're going to come to that in a little bit. Yeah. The thing about Neville, his parents were tortured after Harry's parents were killed, not before. Yeah, so it was Bellatrix Lestrange going on a mad one and wanting to find out, gone on a mad one. She got mad for it, and she wanted to know. She was basically trying to locate what had happened to Voldemort from Neville's parents. Yeah, and went too far, and then ended up in St. Mungo's.
I'm so pissed off at just Bellatrix Lestrange. Just let me get to her. That's all he really wants to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's
let him get to her.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. For the more cynical people among us that might not be massive Harry Potter fans because she stole this name from Lord of the Rings, or she stole this idea from somewhere else. I mean, where do we stand on the plagiarism side of things? I think it's really, really well handled, and
I think it's brilliant. I think if you can look at pretty much any story and compare it to any other story and go,
yeah. That's what I was about to say. Like, look at
is it Star Wars? Is it the Bible? Is it
fantasy? Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia? Like everything essentially. If you've got a story with essentially a savior role in it and a bad guy, it always comes down to the same thing. And actually, the amount of research she did, I was lucky enough to go get to see the exhibition in London at the British Library.
Wasn't it amazing?
Amazing!
Oh God!
Oh my God!
When you go into the potions class and things like that, it's brilliant.
So good.
So the British Library put on an exhibition with the Harry Potter franchise, and it was as though if you were going to study at Hogwarts, this is what you would look at, and these things from actual books that exist. So the book about dragons and things like that. Like the Malleus Maleficarum, the Witch's Hammer books, and the whole thing was just about her inspiration, her notes, her doodles, and then the actual historical things that she'd based them on. I think it is very difficult to say that she just outrightly stole a bunch of people's stories, because when you look at all of the things, and actually when you read the books, just like you said, Richard, full name, just like you named me.
When you read the books, there's so much more in there. I think a lot of people take a lot of these opinions from watching the films, and frankly, as far as I'm concerned, don't have an opinion until you've read the books. Then come back to me and we'll talk about it.
Or, well, I mean, I have an opinion, but take it with a pinch of salt, because if I don't care about it, because it's unquantified.
Do your research and then have an opinion. Do you know what I mean? Read them, and then tell me why the shit. Don't just assume you know what we're talking about.
You're coming from Joe, because obviously the first Philosopher's Stone, she went to 8 different publishers that had all turned her away before Bloomsbury accepted it and gave her a £2,500 advance. I mean, it's insane to think that a book that has made, I made some notes earlier on, sorry Webby, I wasn't able to memorize these ones, so J.K. Rowling is the world's only author billionaire.
Wow.
That's pretty insane. The books have sold over 500 million copies in total, which is $7.7 billion worth of book sales, and the Harry Potter brand is valued at $25 billion. Now, you think a book that they only printed 1,000 copies of initially, and then you think of somebody who went to a book signing that J.K. Rowling did. Joe went and apparently,
oh wow,
lost the book though, because when I was up at Nathan and Joe's a while ago, that we were trying to figure out where it was, and she has no idea where that book has gone, and that book would be worth a fortune.
Oh man,
we would
imagine that.
I'm feeling for you.
She just completely forgotten like where it was when she moved once or something. It could be anywhere.
But they hadn't blown up the way they had at that time either. So it's why
would you say that? But she had to queue up at fucking stupid o'clock in the morning to to get there. So they were popular. I think it was round about the time.
Sure, your dad has it.
I'm sure your dad had it.
Is he now taking mysterious exotic holidays and buying new cars?
That's when the hype started to take off, when people were queuing up at midnight for a book, for a kid's book, and then people started taking it a bit more seriously. But I think it's right that, like, to give it full credit, you've got to read it to make your mind up. You can't just assume that, that it's all related to Lord of the Rings or whatever.
But also, Lord was inspired by the same things that Harry Potter was inspired as well. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. You just got to back
except for the awful carnage of the war, except for that.
yeah, absolutely. Now, so the Harry Potter series, it takes up after kind of in the second Wizarding War, obviously preceded by the first Wizarding War, and then obviously the World Wizarding War, which is where Fantastic Beasts looks at. That's more the stories of Grindelwald, whereas the first Wizarding War was when Voldemort was first unleashed his fury and cat there. First unleashed his fury, and that led up until when Harry the curse bounced back, and then obviously the second phase is sort of takes place from when Harry's around about 14. So I think it's like 1991, I think it is, or 98 or something. And then they decided that they were going to put these films together. Now, when did you watch the films? Did you see them at the cinema? Had you read any of the books before you saw? You had read the books before, hadn't you? Did you wait until you'd read all of the books before watching any of the films, or were you watching the films and the books at the same time, Nat?
I watched the films as they came out. So I was as things were released, I was buying them to read or going to the cinema to watch them. And I've got a lot to say about the films with regards to certain casting decisions and things that were left out. But do you know what? All in all, I think that as a whole, they did a good job. They did a good job.
So
Can I ask you something then? What's the most annoying thing they left out in your eyes? Because I'm not really on top of the differences between the books and the films.
There's two for me. Like the first one is Peeves, obviously, because I think Peeves is a wonderful character, and
really important as well in why certain things happen and the mechanisms for certain storylines.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, it starts off when you're reading it, and he's just like a pretty unpleasant and nasty poltergeist. But actually, as you go through the books, he does things for a reason, and actually, he needs to be there. And
it's because of the bloody Baron.
But oh my God, why can I not remember when he's actually one of the best comedians ever.
Rick Mail.
Thank you. Rick Mail would have been a brilliant Peeves, and he was lined up for it. And so not having Peeves in there, I think, one, upset me, and I think hurt the film franchise, because what a great piece of comic relief as well as anything else. And the other thing that they left out that upset me was Hermione's campaign to free the house elves.
Yes, in the fourth.
Yes, I think did it start in the third?
It started in the third, where she heard about. Well, no, she found out about the house elves in the second one.
Yes, because we found out
that's where we meet Dobby.
Yeah,
and then she heard about why they were doing what they're doing in the third one, and then she started the campaign in the fourth one.
Yeah, and knitting everything and knitting things just to leave around around Hogwarts, so that elves would find them and be free. And then
because you find out about Barty Crouch's house elf as well in the fourth one, which is a huge part of Barty Crouch Jr.'s story as well, which kind of misses all of that out in the films.
And it's got this awful Stockholm syndrome thing going on with her as well. And the fact that she's actually really sad that she's no longer got a master. And
exactly. Like she has the opposite to Dobby, it's really interesting.
Yeah, she's not washing and she's really sad. But when you get to that wonderful bit in the book where Dobby appears with 17 hats on and loads of socks, and he's been the one that's been gathering up all of Hermione's knitting, because he's so excited about owning clothes, and he can dress however he wants. I don't know. I just thought it was a really clever social commentary about various things going on in the world at the moment.
She does that a lot throughout the books. I mean, Dolores Umbridge in the fifth book is particularly poignant for where we're at now, and what's going on in the country now. I completely agree. It's an incredible thing. Normally when we do our retrospectives, I normally bring up sort of what the budget was for a film and what they took at a box office. And I had to triple check this because I was absolutely staggered. So it doesn't surprise me that the film Philosopher's Stone had a budget of $125 million.
Wow.
But it took over $1 billion in the box office.
What?
$1 billion.
That's insane.
And it's incredible because, look, let's not beat around the bush. It's a great film. It looks great. It's got the flavour. It's got the heart of a Harry Potter story. And Nathan, I know this is a particular bugbear of yours, that the children's acting is dog shit.
Do you know what pisses me off the most?
Columbus.
I don't know
it is, though, isn't it? Is it Christopher Columbus's fault? Is it Nina Gold's fault? Is it Nina Gold who cast it? I can't remember.
Or is it the fact that they're surrounded by the cream of adult English actors, and not one of them said, you know, that line you're saying there is completely fucking wrong. Take it from an actor. That's wrong. It doesn't sound like you've ever spoken these words before. You sound absolutely crazy. And when
I've got a friend who's worked with Michael
Leviosa, and you're like,
oh my God,
it's not. It's the way they fucking said it, you idiot. What are you correcting them for? You've just ballsed it up.
Yeah, you've just corrected yourself, actually, there, mate.
Now, I'll be fair. Some of them get better as they go on. Neville definitely gets better. Definitely. Yes. Harry definitely gets better. Ron and Hermione kind of stay the same all the way through.
Right, you've just touched. Can I just get my sore spot out of the way about Hermione? Can I just say it?
Yeah, do it.
Right. Okay. So when you read the books, and me reading the books as an adult felt this intensely. So young girls would definitely have felt this. You meet this girl who is described as not being particularly pretty. No. Fuzzy brown hair, buck teeth, very clever, and she is sort of ostracized and alienated for being who she is and what she is. Becomes friends with
right? Not a muggle. What's the word for somebody that's
a half-blood?
A half-blood.
That's it. Yeah, because her parents are
mudblood. A mudblood.
Yeah. A mudblood. Yeah.
Yeah.
She, for the Yule Ball, yes, she uses a spell on herself, but that spell doesn't work.
It's like they almost cast her just for that scene.
Yes, and she became like this incredible character in the books that said to girls and women who aren't particularly attractive and haven't got a lot of confidence with their body or their looks. She became like this figure of being able to say, well, it doesn't matter because your heart is what matters. And actually, this girl single-handedly helps change the world. Yeah. She changed
but the casting destroyed that.
Destroyed that totally, yeah. She helps to change the wizarding world. She punches Draco Malfoy in the face.
Oh, I love that scene. I reference that scene all the time when I teach a Matilda workshop.
Amazing.
Where the big kids come down and Matilda, and they're like bullying Nigel. And then Matilda just goes, whoa, that didn't happen. Don't listen to them. They're lying. And you got this moment where these kids are like, all this power that we have created over the years, and we were really has just been taken away like that by this one girl, and it's like that punching in the face with Draco Malfoy.
I think it's really, really important for young women to read a character like Hermione, which is basically saying to you, she's clever, and there's pride in being clever.
Yeah,
everybody else around her is fucking stupid, and that's going to happen in life, guys. That's going to happen.
Yeah,
you know
because
what I mean?
she essentially, you see her saving the day again and again, and Harry getting the credit. And I all the way through the books, not only for me, but I know for a lot of girls, she's just this incredible hero. And then they cast, I'm just going to say it, Emma Watson, who can act.
I mean, that is her name.
Yes, thank you.
They
can act. Right, I wanted to go on this roller coaster ride, and yeah, probably the first couple of films she was young and she wouldn't have been very good anyway. But by the end, I should have been sobbing. With Emma's character, and I didn't, because she's not a good actor, and she looked beautiful from probably about midway through film 1. Well, maybe not actually, probably the beginning of film 2. She looked beautiful all the way through, and so they took away that power that every young girl who read the book had.
You know what? There's a couple of funny things that I say funny, a couple of icky things that happened. So I mean, Jo Rowling, she wanted to be under the name of Joanne Rowling, but it was the publishers that said, "Would you consider having JK?" I think has mum's surname, or Kathleen or something like that. But will you consider having JK to make your sex more ambiguous so that boys will read your books? And I was like, wow.
But again, this is going back 25 years. You just wouldn't get that now. Now it's less important than ever. And they would make a fucking massive deal about stuff like that. And at the end of the day, she had an agenda. She had an agenda. She had an agenda to get her books out there to by any means necessary, because that's how everybody's got to start. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Regardless of sex. So maybe what they actually did was a favor to her, because they were being honest. At that time, a female writer with that amount of success was unheard of. So it's one way of breaking down that wall, I guess.
Shocking though, isn't it? That was 25 years ago, and that's what women writers have been against since the 1800s.
Do you know what, as well? And I have to say that for me, Hermione in the films, she's not great, but she's equally matched by the other child actors in it. Do you know what I mean? It's like they just couldn't see what a good child actor looked like.
Yeah.
They just can't see it. They could have done with some kids some Stranger Things or from some Stephen King shit. For some reason, Steven Spielberg even got that massive when it comes to directing kids. He makes them believable, and you needed that. So that's why the films, for me, will always suck. They need to remake them, and they do, because it's so much brilliant. The effects look amazing. The cast, the adult cast are great. There's just too much weight and emotion put on these kids that are not particularly good at acting, you know. And I have to say, some of them since then, I've seen Daniel Radcliffe in quite a few things. I've seen Emma Watson in some stuff. They're not as bad as they used to be. It's like they've learned, but it's just a shame they learned a little too late.
Daniel Radcliffe has grown into quite an impressive young man, though. I remember seeing him on things like Nevermind the Buzzcocks and stuff like that. And actually, he came across, I think I'm talking from 8-bit land again, aren't I? Have I gone all pixelated?
Don't worry, we can still hear you.
I think he's grown into quite a really interesting and quite intelligent young man. You know, he's quite.
He fought for it, though. He fought for it, didn't he? He fought for his credibility. After Harry Potter, he deliberately made some choices that were completely against the grain of Harry Potter.
That's true.
Like getting naked in Equus.
It's really out in Equus. That's what he was still doing Harry Potter, because there was an Equus poster in the cafe that he's sat in at the train station. There's an Equus poster.
All right.
Yeah. For the production that he did.
The guy that Nat was on about earlier, Stephen King's son, Joe Hill, Daniel Radcliffe was in Horns, which is a Joe Hill story, which is about this knobhead kid that wakes up with horns one day.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's a weird story. It's a weird story.
And it's not bad in that. He doesn't do a bad American accent. He's sort of getting better. But I feel sorry for a lot of these kids, man. I feel sorry for the way that the industry treated them. You know, you got people like Tom Felton and Rupert Grint who constantly get a slating in the press, and they don't get much work because people can't see past Ron Weasley. The characters are so strong in this book.
Tom Felton was originally up for the part of Harry, and he was being seen for the part of Ron as well.
Oh, but good God, he's the most punchable character in this bloody franchise. Early on, when he's really, really early on. When he's
he was cast brilliantly.
I mean,
he was quite obnoxious and precocious.
They needed that acting coach on set all the time to be like, let's just take another 50 takes of this because it's not right, you know. So that's what suck about the movies. But the worst thing is about it, you know, you earlier on that you struck a chord with me because you said that there's books you wish you could delete from your brain and read again afresh.
Yeah.
I seriously think that will be the next stage of AI, where we can download things into our brain and delete them willy-nilly. And I'd love to reread them. I would, because for me, I've seen enough of the films now that when I read the books, I just see the people from the films in it, and it pisses me off because they were never my character. Like you say, and it's not just exclusive to Hermione. Harry Potter, again, was a lot less good-looking than Daniel Radcliffe. He had a lot crazier hair. It's described as really thick and wiry and unkempt hair, and it's a little bit like that, but not enough. You know.
No, I agree. Yeah. They Hollywoodified them, didn't they? The kids, because maybe that's the only way they felt they could sell the performances. I don't know. But,
maybe. So.
Yeah. But
maybe so.
When Hermione appears on the top of that staircase for the Yule Ball, looking beautiful
in the Goblet of Fire.
Nobody was surprised. Nobody did.
No, you're right. Yeah.
You read the book and you have a visceral reaction.
It wasn't that ugly duckling transformation, was it? It wasn't that at all. The thing about the first one, the thing that I think the film misses is it's just little bits like, and you can imagine Jo Rowling actually giggling to herself when she writes things about like where you've got Fred and George at Christmas throwing snowballs at Professor Quirrell and they're hitting him in the back of the head. Yeah. And the thing is, when he takes his scarf off, the back of his head is Voldemort's face. So you can imagine.
Do you know what?
Having a giggle to herself. You know, it's brilliant.
Just credit to that for being a proper decent fucking like nobody saw that coming, because we've all seen it a million times now. But there is no way you knew that Voldemort was attached to the back of that guy's head. I think that's a really original way of doing it to show this guy's coming back.
Absolutely.
But we're so overexposed to it now. We can all say, "Oh yeah, it's so obvious," but I don't think that was an obvious. And I think that's the thing about this series of books is there are some really genuinely surprising things in there.
So, who do you think your best performer? Who do you think your best performer is in the Philosopher's Stone? Acting wise.
Best performer,
best performance. I mean, obviously, it's the only one where we see that version of Dumbledore.
Look, anybody that can do the job they're set to do. So, for example, casting somebody as Snape, and Snape comes across as a fucking arsehole that you wouldn't want to be anywhere near. You've done your job. If you're coming across as a nice bumbling old wizard, Dumbledore, Richard Harris, then you've done your job. So, anybody that's doing the description of the character justice by being a decent actor, in my opinion. And there's loads of them. There's even tiny little ones.
I'd say though, like, other than the three kids, probably the person who had the biggest amount of pressure in that first film to produce there's probably two people, were Snape and Dumbledore. The characters like Richard Harris and
I was thinking Maggie Smith actually as well.
She's just great.
McGonagall, because there's a consistency to her all the way through those films, and there's a familiarity about that character as well, and the way she plays it's just really rich, and I think she nailed it right from the very first time you saw her in that film. She's absolutely brilliant, and because of course Richard Griffiths as well.
In essence, she's a really terrifying character because she's the deputy head and she's the head of Gryffindor, right?
Yeah.
She's got a weight about her, but also she's on the side of justice. She's on the side of right. She's on the side of the good kids who are always getting shat on by other people. You know, she's constantly sort of putting her neck out, sticking her neck out for them, and helping them out without them realizing.
She's fair as well.
She is. She will punish the students of her own class, her own house, even if it means that they're not going to get the points for the house cup.
Unless it's Gryffindor. Unless it's Quidditch, in which case,
yes, of course.
In her case,
now we're about to skip over in a moment to the Chamber of Secrets, but just to interrupt the brief, let's have a little interlude. Now we've got Mr. Chris Lumb.
Here he is. Look,
Expecto Chris Lumb. There he is. How's the gig going along, Lummy?
Can you hear me? The signal.
We can hear you.
He's live on the set.
I didn't do it. I ran away.
He's live at the set of Hogwarts.
Does look like
the Indiana Jones set that I'm at.
Hogsmeade. He's in Hogsmeade. Look.
It does. It does look like he's around the back of the Hog's head.
It's going well.
Horsforth does look a bit like Hogsmeade, actually. Doesn't it?
It does very much, doesn't it? Yeah.
Lummy
doesn't know what Hogsmeade is.
Quickly. No. We're starting again. The signal's terrible. Everything's all over the place. You're doing a good job, though.
Thanks, man.
How do you know you're supposed to be funny? Go and be funny, Lummy.
Go do something funny.
I'll go. All right.
Yeah. We love you, Lummy. We love you, Lummy.
Miss
Chris
you.
Lumb, ladies and gentlemen.
Love you too. See ya. Bye.
Avada Kedavra.
This unforgivable.
Oh my God.
Oh, he went
he's gonna be like, what the fuck was that? He's gonna be like, what if I actually killed him?
Oh no.
That would really mess up that gig tonight, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we go from Philosopher's Stone and we go to the Chamber of Secrets. Chamber of Secrets.
There he is.
There we go. There we go. We were a little bit all over the place with the posters that I got because it was down to the qualities of images that I could find. But the Chamber of Secrets. So what do you think of book 2?
See, I loved book 2. I loved the Whomping Willow. I think this is going to sound so like righteous, like class wise, but I think I started to identify more with the Weasleys in book 2.
Yes,
do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm from a working class family. We didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up. I wouldn't have been able to afford to get a new wand like Ron couldn't.
No.
So yeah, I felt like I was.
You'd have had hand-me-downs and things like that.
Yeah. I was forming alliances.
Shitty pet. Yeah. Ball drop.
Yeah. And I think we get to start meeting the Weasleys more in that film, and
we get to see the house, don't we? And she makes it very clear that although the house, she never says anything disparaging about the house, but she describes it just being higgledy-piggledy and cramped and things like that. Although it just sounds brilliant, and she makes it sound like a really caring house. Even the clock, where it's got where everybody is and where they're in danger and things like that. And it's obviously a house that is full of care and love and all of that. Yeah,
and that's what you need in the end.
And I think that's what the like your only children that read Harry Potter. That's where they get.
I agree, Big T.
Yeah.
You're right, Webby. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the bits that they identify with Harry Potter more because they're all alone, but they want to be a Weasley. You know, but I was a Weasley. I'm from a big poor house too. You know what I mean? I had hand-me-down robes and shit. You know what I mean? And that's that whole thing about having moth-eaten clothes from your big brothers and stuff like that. It touches on something.
It does, and there's the awful bit where Ron is trying to stand up to the bullies, but literally his broken wand stops him from doing that. It's just a real commentary on actually how if you've got advantages in certain places in your life, you are more likely to succeed. Yeah. And the fact that he's vomiting slugs rather than having a victory over Draco and his bully pals, I think he's quite a clever piece of writing from J.K. Rowling, really. Yeah. Because in the end, they ultimately all have satisfaction. We all get satisfaction about from all of these gripes. It all comes to a head, but eventually. But yeah, when you're in it with them, it's just heartbreaking.
For me, it's one of my favorite books because it was my gateway book, the one where I realised that I was I was going to be able to read these things and enjoy them. And it's funny and interesting and delves into the story a little bit. It opens the frame up a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the world. But the film is the worst fucking film in the franchise for me.
It's my favourite out of the 8.
So many things in it that don't work, but the acting is top of the list. Yeah, I mean, literally,
it's the Ron Weasley face, isn't it? That you have
just
a huge disdain for.
He pulls the same face for 2 hours. Literally every time he's on screen, it's yeah. I wanted him to get eaten by a fucking spider. I really did. You know what I mean? I did.
Well, get eaten by what?
I was rooting for Aragog.
Whoa! Get eaten by what, Webby?
A spider.
Spider! Ooh!
Oh.
Dear. I love it.
Yeah, man. I mean, flipping heck.
Yeah, although the whole story about Ginny is brilliant throughout this, and it's a really good way to introduce Ginny and her infatuation, her crush on Harry. I think it's just sewn really beautifully into the story. The whole thing about him being a Parseltongue as well. Gilderoy Lockhart is far better in the books than the portrayal of Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah. I don't really know what more he could have done with that role, though, with the script that he was given.
Well, it's a fundamentally unlikable character. You're not meant to like him. You're meant to sit there. You're meant to be with the characters that are going, why do people buy this bullshit that he writes? You know what I mean? Because you're meant to see him for what he is. Yeah, totally.
You get a sense of that, but Uncle Vernon's an unlikable character. But he's just played so spectacularly. It's just Richard Griffiths just knocks it out of the park with it. Do you know what I mean? Dolores Umbridge is an unlikable character.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But she's just Imelda Staunton is just insanely good at the way she plays that character. I think
it's that only highlights the bad acting.
The bad acting.
Though. Because you get some people in there that just get it. They get it straight away. Bellatrix Lestrange is fucking brilliant. You've got Sirius is brilliant. But you're talking about fucking hell, they're the cream of the crop of British acting. They should be brilliant. But Kenneth Branagh is as well, right? So I'm told. He's been around the block a few times. So it should work. And maybe I'm being too harsh on it. I don't think for me, is the problem with the movie. It is... I don't know. It's too sequely. It's too yay, we pulled it off. The first movie was really good. I don't know. It
almost felt like a gateway movie, didn't it? I felt like I watched it and I thought, right, they wanted me to get ready for 3. They didn't actually want me to really enjoy that one so much. That was just okay. We're going to do another, so keep watching. And I think you're right. I think anyone would have probably struggled with what Kenneth Branagh was given, but I think Ginny as a character introduced in that film is great, but generally underrepresented during the entire franchise, in my opinion.
I think there's a lot of deleted scenes of her on the cutting room floor.
She's like a Neville. She's like a Neville. We were supposed to see her blossom into this incredible, strong, young woman, like protagonist.
A character worthy of the love of your protagonist, a character, an equal to Harry.
Yeah, and so someone who like Hermione could stand up and say, actually, I'm going to take charge here, and I've got ideas, and I'm not stupid, and I am brave, and I am coming with you, and all of that stuff. I don't think she was ever given the opportunity in the films to be anything other than somebody slightly in love with Harry, for us to hate Chu Chang about later on, or Cho Chang.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I think, although I did like the way that she was sewn into the story, I like the way that we first encounter the young Voldemort, obviously Tom Riddle. And again, I think it's a really good way of introducing him, the Forbidden Forest. I mean, actually, when you think about the amount of content in that second, it's funny because they have dropped a ball with the film because there is so much material and there's some really quite dark material in that second story. When they go to the Forbidden Forest, when you hear about how Hagrid was framed, but then you look at the film and it is really lightweight. It is, I think, secretly is a really good description because, and I think when you said this setting you up for the third one is interesting because there is such a tone change to that third film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
really dark.
It's puberty. Yeah. It's an analogy for puberty for me when they all start fancying each other, but there's not a single mention of any pubes or any sweatiness or spots or
stinky.
Not being able to stand up.
Nocturnal emissions and shit. But it is dark as shit. Isn't that the one with Voldemort where you see him in the woods feeding off the fucking unicorn?
And actually, towards the end,
I don't remember that in the film as a big thing. That should have been a terrifying.
It was a really tiny bit.
And you'll miss it.
Very brief.
Because they were setting you up for them.
They did the end well. No, you were right. I was just going to say, I think they did the end well. And actually, you know, we saw Fox. Fox comes in. We see that you can take the sword of Gryffindor out of the hat. So that's like the little nod to what comes later. And the ending's quite dark because Ginny, you know, we think Ginny's going to die.
Yeah.
We think Harry's going to die. Yeah. Like, I think the last 10 minutes feel fucking serious, excuse my language.
Yeah.
But I think before then it's a little bit light and fluffy and you're just like, ha ha. Do you know what
I mean? They managed to make Dobby really annoying.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And maybe that's the intention. So I don't remember him being as annoying in the books.
No, but if you think about it, for me, maybe not as annoying, but definitely annoying to people who are from Harry Potter world. They are annoyed by the presence of house elves. It takes a few free-thinking youngsters,
I get that,
Hermione, to sort of release them from slavery and stuff. But yeah, it is a bit something for the kids in there with the cute little elf making silly jokes, and
it really highlights that class structure as well, and the inhumane way or the elitism of many in the wizarding world, particularly sort of pure-blooded families.
I like to call it the dickishness of wizards.
Dickishness of wizards. That should be a book that you'd have to study. Hogwarts, the dickishness of wizards.
Do you know, you won't make half as many mistakes, though, would you? If you just
you wouldn't.
The dickishness. All right, okay. So the trick to being a good wizard is
don't be a dick.
Not to be a massive dick. Yeah,
don't be a
exactly.
And,
always give your wand a quick shake after you've used it. And I thought some of the acting in the second film was almost worse, perhaps worse than some of the acting in the first film.
A little weaker, yeah.
Which is surprising because you think by that point they've established their characters, and then they're just building on what they did in the first one. But obviously, it's not.
I think it's the director that I think how did the director not watch the first film and think, oh, these kids are going to need a hand, and then get into the second film and just say to Rupert Grint, just go, mate, you'll be fine.
But it's the same. But it's the same guy. It's still Chris Columbus. Do you know what I mean? He did both. Yeah, it is.
How is he not looking at the rushes and going, "Oh, he's doing that again"?
Because that's comedy. That's a comedy face, though, isn't it?
Oh, right,
I think they saw it was his comedy face. Anything else you want to say about the second film, or the second book? Anything that came up theme wise?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the word comedy because there is comedy in the book, but for some reason it works really well in the book. For some reason it doesn't. I guess getting a kid to make you cry through their acting is just as hard to getting them to make you laugh is difficult too. And if you haven't given that role to the right actor, then you're never going to get what you're expecting from it or what you want from it.
It's true. I think the other thing is there's a bit of foreshadowing, obviously, because this whole Parcel Tongue thing, the whole thing that they think that Harry might be the heir of Slytherin, but also the foreshadowing towards him being a Horcrux then as well. So that's quite interesting. First time we're introduced to a Horcrux, although we don't know it's a Horcrux, but this idea that there's a bit of Tom Riddle, Voldemort's soul within a magical object.
Yeah. Back to the books though as well, though. I mean, the fact that this lady obviously had the plan from the start, because there's so many things that pop up in those early books that come back. The Horcruxes, the three wizards with the divine, the triangle thing, the symbol, which means the Elder Wand and the fucking invisibility.
And
all these things that have just landed in Harry's lap, pretty much. And it's really good foreshadowing. It's really good that she had a plan, she stuck to the plan, and it worked the way she wanted to.
I think as the books go on as well, this we're going to probably motor on a little bit, but as the books go on, they do build on all of these established events, and then they just become more detailed. So when you start getting into the 6th and the 7th books, where you start to really find out about Voldemort's life and his family, you know, and Grunt and all of those characters from his past, and again, you know, a really tragic character. You know, Tom Riddle, he had a shit life. His whole family was shit because of this obsession with being pure-blooded and having. Well, she wasn't a squib, was she? His aunt.
Excuse me.
His mum. She's not a squib, is she? She's a wizard.
I can't remember now.
I can't remember now.
His mum's a wizard because she married.
Right,
No, his mum's a wizard, but she wasn't able to use her powers because she was so shy all the time and so repressed because of her angry brother and her father. And that's right. And because she bewitched a Muggle to have sex with her, and that's how, Voldemort
bit rapey.
became. Well, you know, it was like a love potion that she put on him. I just couldn't remember whether she was a squib or whether she was like the character in Fantastic Beasts.
I can't remember, and I'm going to I'll Google it dead quick.
I'm just, I don't know, man. I mean, I can't remember what my point was. Oh, sorry. I'll tell you what else they do as the books go along, which I really like. So the first book, kid goes to Hogwarts. You learn what it's like to go to a magic school, pretty much. I think they go to Hogsmeade in the first book, don't they? But it's just touched on. But the second book, and they start to branch out into that wizarding universe, and you learn a little bit about the history of the wars and the Ministry of Magic and the way that rules things, and also the external places like Hogsmeade and what that is, and you know what I mean. There is the secret wizarding world behind everything, and the fact that, you know, Diagon Alley and the pub, the Three Broomsticks and everything. What's the pub where you go through the what? Is that the Three Broomsticks?
That's Hogs.
The one that leads from London.
That's
I think the Three. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because there's two different pubs in there. There's Hogshead and
the Three Broomsticks is the one that's in Hogsmeade, and the Hogshead is the one that gets you into Diagon Alley from Charing Cross Road. Is that right now?
And then, because there's the portrait that essentially everybody climbs into in Hogsmeade and gets out of in.
It's
Hogwarts,
the secret passageway between. Yeah, exactly.
With one of my favourite moments ever, which was Neville's grandma. Neville's grandma stepped through the portrait and she says, "Where's my grandson?" And they say he's fighting. And she's like, "Of course he is." Unbelievable.
That is the ultimate redemption sort of story for Neville there in the eyes of his grandma, because he was always she thought he was ashamed of his parents being the way that they were, and he wasn't. It's just lovely, complex Neville.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. His parents being in the insane asylum, suffering the effects of the dark magic that bounced back on them. It's just a great touch to the story.
Yeah, they were tortured. They were tortured beyond madness.
Yeah, to madness.
It was the Cruciatus curse.
Yeah,
Bellatrix again.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Tom Riddle's mum appeared to be an unskilled witch. While living with her father and brother, she often produced poor magic, more often than not preferring to cook and clean without it, leading to her father to refer to her as a squib. So she was just really bad at it, but they called her a squib anyway.
Just remind me,
because she was.
It's a squib, a wizard that doesn't want to use magic.
Yeah, no. It's a wizard. It's a wizard. They are a wizard. They've been born into the wizarding world, but they can't use magic.
Yeah.
So
like Filch.
Filch was a squib, so was the lady who lived on Privet Drive, who helped Harry in the 5th one.
What about Hagrid? Is he a bit of a squib then? Because he could do a little.
No. Hagrid isn't a squib. Hagrid got kicked out of Hogwarts in his 2nd or 3rd year, which meant that he'd only learned a certain amount, and then he was banned from using magic because they thought he was the person who'd released the
spiders.
They thought the spider was what was killing all the children, basically.
Yeah,
Right.
So he got kicked out of
Oh
Hogwarts.
man, I need to fucking read these
and
things
then Dumbledore kind of knew that it wasn't him. He always suspected Tom Riddle. He was the only teacher. In fact, Tom Riddle says it himself that Dumbledore was the only teacher. All the other teachers loved me. Slughorn loved me, but Dumbledore was the only teacher who seemed to have his eye on me and didn't quite believe me, and didn't quite, because he'd seen the way he'd behaved in the children's home, and that he'd bullied other children. And
Dumbledore had sucked one of the memories out of Tom Riddle's head, which was causing Tom Riddle to be so fucking nuts.
No, not at all. He'd seen. So basically, he was the person who went to the children's home to collect.
I remember that. It's a bit like X-Men.
And in there, he knew that there was some stolen things in the wardrobe. So he made the wardrobe set on fire to prove to Tom that he was a wizard. And then Tom's like, I can do things as well. And he's like, okay, cool. Well, I'll show you something else, but you need to give back the things from that cupboard that aren't yours. And he was like, oh, what? And basically, he'd been stealing things from all of the other kids in the children's home. So Dumbledore already knew that he was a bit of a wrong 'un. So he'd always had his suspicions. So Hagrid was a limited magician, which is why he wasn't allowed to do magic because he never qualified. He never got to the study age of beyond 17. So he was never legally, which is why he had the umbrella.
His wand
right,
is his
so we've now sort of got, in a higgledy-piggledy way, to the end of the Chamber of Secrets. Can I talk about my favourite bit now?
Right, so that is your favourite bit in Chamber of Secrets?
No. My favourite bit is in the next book. And
of course.
This is again, right? It's from the Prisoner of Azkaban. Yeah. This is going back some time before you know that Sirius is a good guy. Yeah. It's that fucking fear you've got of Sirius showing up at any point to kill Harry because he's been told he's going to kill him. And then when you finally meet him, can't remember exactly what he says, but he's basically like, well, I'm your godfather, dude. Don't worry about it.
He says it in a really psycho kind of, hello, Harry. But at the time, he's holding Peter. No, he's not holding Peter Pettigrew, is he?
He's just not. No, he is.
It's in the Shrieking Shack.
When he's in the Shrieking Shack. So he's just broken his leg.
Yeah.
And he's got and is it Peter Pettigrew? He's not, because he wants to turn him from a rat into Peter Pettigrew.
Yes, he's trying to get the rat off of Ron, and all of the kids have got him in a corner.
Snape's wand and things like that. Yeah.
And then Snape comes in and I think doesn't Sirius knock Snape out but doesn't kill him.
Yeah.
And then
the kids do that to Snape because they take his wand. They curse.
Even in the film, that bit where Sirius bursts out is one of the best bits because you're genuinely like, oh my god, it's actually happening. You know what I mean? But that sense of dread about that, I mean, that's what I remember. The overwhelming factor from that book is that sense of dread.
Oh, Mrs. Norris.
Yeah. Mrs. Norris, and
I was genuinely upset when she was petrified. Yeah. Filch was genuinely upset.
He was really good, wasn't he? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that was played beautifully. I mean, he is phenomenal. Though,
he's great. He's great. But I mean, for me, that whole you got to remember that. Part of the reason you're reading these books is because they keep making you want to read them because of things you're finding out. So the beginning of the third book where you find out Harry's got a godfather, yay! Oh, but he wants to kill him. Oh, boo! Oh, and he's just got out of prison. What?
No. Well, you don't find out his godfather at that point, do you? You don't find that out at the beginning. You find out that. So that's the thing. He finds out. He reads about this character. So it's where we first see.
Oh,
it's the night bus.
Yeah, look at that.
And so it's where we see the night bus for the first time because obviously, so Uncle Vernon's sister comes round, who is a bulldog breeder. Now, Joe Rowling says actually she really regrets making his sister a breeder of bulldogs because after the books came out, her own sister, got bulldogs. And she actually knows them to be really lovely, beautiful dogs, but she didn't know much about them. She just thought they looked grumpy and vicious. So that's why she made her a bulldog breeder in the stories, but she quite regrets it now. That's where Uncle Vernon's sister, because that's at the start, isn't it? His sister's coming, and she's called Harry's, and she's going, that's it. It's the bitch. It's because of the bitch. That's why they turn out bad. And so really slagging off Harry's mum, and he can't stop himself, and the whole thing with Dobby. Well, he got told off in the previous year because Dobby dropped the cake on Uncle Vernon's boss, on his boss's head because he wanted to stop him from going to Hogwarts. And then in this one, he just emotions got the better of him. Which when we talk about puberty as well, Nathan, coming into that sort of age range.
Thank you. Somebody mentioned.
But we are though where he's kind of got me in control.
I'm surprised we haven't got more comments saying what's with his obsession with wizard pubes, man. Leave him alone. I'm not obsessed. I just thought they might mention it, you know.
So yes, there's a whole thing. So he ends up getting the night bus to the Hog's Head, which is where he's met by Fudge, who then takes him to Hogwarts, and
because he thinks his wings is going to get expelled.
He thinks he's going to go to Azkaban, and that's where you find out about the consequence of going to Azkaban and all of that. So it's that point where Mr. Weasley takes him aside and says, "You've got to know that you have to behave this year, and you can't do any of the things that you normally do because this guy is after you." And it's the same year that they get to go to Hogsmeade, and he's not allowed to go. Nobody was so everyone else is allowed to go.
Yeah, but then he figures some shit out. Well, he's not allowed to go there. He does a bit of spying around the castle. So hang on 1 second. Just before we go any further, all I'm trying to clarify here is, I'm a bit sketchy on the details, but the point I'm making is the beauty of these books is, like any good book, you're learning what the lead character's learning. They're learning it.
That's
you know what I mean?
Right.
So you feel the fear, you feel the worry, you feel the anxiety that he's got about what's going on. And because he's new to the wizarding world, and so are you, it's just an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
You know, the details are important.
Isn't this the book with Norbert in? And we get to see
what Hagrid's little egg is actually.
The little dragon.
No, that's the first one. That's the first one.
Go.
Because that's where because he's got the Cerberus dog, the three-headed dog, and he tells somebody in the Three Broomsticks. It was the other pub, not the Three Broomsticks. It was the rougher pub in Hogsmeade where the darker wizards go to, and I can't remember what it's called.
I can't remember what it's called.
Somebody's asking him questions, and he tells him about this dog, Fluffy, about how to get past this three-headed dog. You play it music, and the guy gave him an egg as a present, as a gift, as a thank you. And in that was Norbert the dragon, because they end. Yes, how does? Because that's when Draco.
Is it the Leaky Cauldron?
No, that's the pub I was thinking of. That's the one.
Sorry, it's not the Yeah. So the Hog's Head, is it the Hog's Head in Charing Cross Road, but the Leaky Cauldron on the Diagon Alley side of it?
I can't remember.
Yeah, Leaky Cauldron's in Diagon Alley. Three Broomsticks is in Hogsmeade,
So the Three Broomsticks is the pub, right? Okay.
And the Hog's Head is also in Hogsmeade.
But again, the fact that we have to go through this and sort of pick out details that are important to the story, and we're not sure where those things occur, is just a testament to how intricately woven these things are. You know, it doesn't really matter if we get everything perfectly accurate. The fact that everything's done for a purpose, and isn't the dragon that comes out of the egg, doesn't that have some sort of repercussions for the Goblet of Fire as well later? Because it's one of the dragons he knows about.
Well, that the Hungarian horntail is the really vicious one. I think that ends up being a Hungarian horntail as well. I think that's it.
I think I'm sure there's a connection there, but again, I'm a little woolly on the details. But
so this is where you find out. So it's great because it gets really dark straight away. So you find out that so Arthur Weasley tells Harry, and he shouldn't be telling him, that this guy Sirius Black is after him. Then they get into a carriage on the Hogwarts Express, and they're sat opposite this dishevelled teacher. Professor Lupin. And then everything goes cold and dark. Harry freaks out, hears his mum screaming, and Lupin stood over him when he comes to giving him chocolate.
What a beautiful way of writing a werewolf.
Brilliant.
This bedraggled teacher.
But not only that,
heart of gold, and he's one of the good guys, but he's got this illness.
And she gives us clues all the way through. Clues. His name, the fact that when the bottle comes out, it's the moon. And I still didn't click. I was like,
but Hermione did, and that's the thing, because she's really clever, and Hermione figured it out. And the other beautiful thing about that character thread is that they carry that through to the point where him and Tonks are together, and she's pregnant, and he leaves her because he doesn't want
a werewolf baby.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to be fathering a baby as a werewolf as well.
I mean, that's a bit
werewolves do.
I mean, that's kind of a metaphor for like for any kind of illness that you can get during gestation of a baby.
I know,
do you know what I mean? I want to
because werewolves attack children, though. Werewolves attack children, and that was the.
So he didn't want the werewolf to be. Oh, he didn't want to attack the child. Okay, I thought he was worried that the child was going to be a werewolf and attack itself.
He wasn't. He was a bit of both. He wasn't. Just keep punching himself in the face.
Stop that.
Whereas a half moon, he slaps himself. Whereas a full moon, proper fucking kick. But yeah,
I mean, it's a wonderful book, that third book, and also you've got the introduction of Bellatrix and what she's up to, and you're learning about. It's not just Voldemort that we need to be worried about in this world. It's some of the creepy fuckers that he was hanging around with, and Peter Pettigrew playing it sly, pretending to be some poor kid's fucking rat. When
actually,
really
I don't think we do meet Bellatrix at that point.
No, we don't. But we hear about her. We hear about other people that are in Azkaban. We hear about that. Like even the most powerful wizard's not meant to be able to get out of there. I can't actually remember how the fuck does he escape Azkaban?
That is absolutely right, Big T. Hogshead is Aberforth's pub.
Oh, that's another beautiful bit where they get down in the cellar and Dumbledore comes out and they're like, "Oh my God, you're dead, right?" Or something. It's like it's his brother. It's really it's like a nice, less powerful version of Dumbledore. That's cute.
Now the way he escaped was because he knew that he wasn't guilty of what he did, so he had hope that kept him going, and something happened that allowed him to escape. I know the Dementors didn't affect him as much as they should have done. Oh, because he's a dog. Because he's a dog, and he just transformed into a dog and just walked out of there.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough then.
Should have done that 20 years ago, mate.
But he was able to do that because the Dementors hadn't affected him, because he knew that he wasn't.
You know what? That's another beautiful thing about these books, guys. By the fourth book, you're learning about the outside world, but it's also different levels of magic. So there's a lot more focus on the animagus side of things, being able to change people that are able to change into animals and shit. It's all really well paced.
Yeah.
I can't remember when you start hearing about the unforgivable curses and stuff, but even that is quite clever.
Isn't that when we see Moody?
You do. Is Mad-Eye Moody actually? No, it's the fourth one. Mad-Eye Moody is, because Lupin's their defense against the dark arts.
That's teacher. Right, yeah, and then Moody and
Mad-Eye, but it's not Mad-Eye. It's actually Barty Crouch Jr., who's taken Polyjuice Potion, which you find out about. Obviously, first one when they. No, it's not the first one.
It is. That's when they found out what Polyjuice Potion is. I don't know when they use it for the first time.
When did they become Crab and Goyle?
No. It's when they become Crab and Goyle is when they first use Polyjuice Potion, and that is in the second one, because they think Malfoy. Because they think Malfoy cat, and they think Malfoy is the heir of Slytherin, which is why they transform to Crab and Goyle, to be able to go and find out where he is. And again, that's great. That's great.
Who's she trying to turn herself into when she ends up as a cat?
Melissa.
Milton Bulstrode?
Yes,
How
that's
good.
How
good did you be? Hey guys, I got one of what's she called?
Millicent.
I've got one of Millicent's pubes.
I knew you were going to say pubes. Seriously, dude. I was just like, he's going to say pubes, isn't he? The third one is such a great story. I mean, again, the books are so much richer and full of so much more detail. I mean, that whole
totally devoid of
the
pubes.
Whole series,
right.
The whole series of that whole thing. Holy shit. In fact, it's way better than in the film, and I get a bit bored of it in the film now, actually. It was good the first few times. But that whole series of events, from when Lupin has turned into a werewolf and drags Ron because he's trying to get... Because that's where we get introduced into the Marauders map as well. And we hear about Padfoot and Prongs. It's where Animaguses are first. I've gone 8-bit again. It's where Animaguses are first introduced. It's where we find out his dad was a stag. And it's just the way it all layers into each other. It's just...
This is why it's so hard to accurately remember everything from the book.
And then, Sorry, go on, Webby.
No, it's all right. That's all I'm gonna say. It's just so hard. There's so much in them. You forget that a lot of this stuff happens in the same book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what's really clever about that third book is she tells you the same story twice at the end. Yeah. Because we see it play out, and then we do a time turner, and we see it play out again.
Yeah,
and
but
by the
it's
time
so
you're bored.
Great. Yeah. No, neither. And also the whole thing, obviously, with oh man, what's she called?
Rita Skeeter.
Oh, Rita Skeeter.
Well, no, that's in the fourth one.
It is in the fourth one, but I hate her.
Yeah, no, Buckbeak.
Oh,
so that's great. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. It again shows the relationship between animals and magical world. And
but again, in the film, it's one of the worst bit of actings where Draco's going, "He got me! He got me!"
Yeah, it's bad. It is
really, really overacting it.
It's really bad. Yeah. Now, with 3 films in, and we're
I've got an idea, guys. I've got an idea. Look, no doubt, in a few weeks, Lummy's going to have to miss another show for some other reason.
Well, Lummy misses the first show of every month. So shall we get up to and include the Goblet of Fire?
And then come back and do the rest.
Will you come back in 4 weeks' time, the beginning show, and we'll do the second part of the Harry Potter special?
Love to. I would absolutely love to.
Because we've also got the Fantastic Beasts films that I know Martin was asking if we were going to discuss them, and we've also got the Cursed Child as well,
which I'm desperate to talk to somebody about. So let's.
Nat, have you seen it? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
So
no.
Oh my God.
Shush your faces.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we'll do before we get on to the Goblet of Fire is we are going to go to our best and worst. So we're going to look at, because I think some of the characters have been covered by this point as well. I know mine and Nathan's have. So we look at best and worst Harry Potter characters, whether that be in the book or the films, because it might be that you've got an MVP actor for one of the roles. So, folks, if you want to leave down below who your best and worst Harry Potter character is. But, Natalie, our special guest, we're going to go to you first. Who is your best Harry Potter character?
Well, it was a very close call. I almost said Molly Weasley because she is wonderful.
Yeah,
but in the end, I went with Professor McGonagall because she is incredible. Look at Maggie Smith there. Dame Maggie Smith.
Dame Maggie Smith.
Well, you've already said it.
She's not even Scottish.
She's not even Scottish.
No.
But Rich already said it. She's got this incredibly warm, a wonderful way of presenting this. No doubt, if I was 11 years old and going into Hogwarts for the first time, terrifying teacher who actually is an absolute softie at heart and would protect you. And we see it in the last book to her dying breath if she had to. This fantastic matriarch who is literally a matriarch of the school. And coming to, I know we're not discussing those books yet, but coming to the bit in the film and in the book where she is comforting Trelawney, who essentially is getting kicked out. The way that she encompasses everything that I feel J.K. Rowling was trying to tell us about what a love is, what a mum is, what a matriarch is, what a mentor is.
Family as well.
Family,
how your family can be extended. There's a couple of awesome things about McGonagall. She commands respect, but also she's got some of the fucking funniest lines in the entire franchise.
Yeah, she has.
Because even in the films, she's great. Yeah, she pulls it out the bag and really makes you laugh.
But because she's up there with it, I think for me, it's that she has warm authority.
Yeah,
she's very authoritative, but with that allows her to slip the mask occasionally, and like you said, Webby, deal with these that actually quite acerbic sometimes, but very funny.
And also that reassurance she gives to the kids that Umbridge is an actual cunt. It's not their imagination. She can't stand the woman either, and it's really beautifully written in the book. That sort of competition, that fear that she has of losing a job, but it's worth losing your job over. Some things you've got to stand up for.
Yeah,
you know, brilliant. No.
What
about your worst, Nat?
My
worst, without a doubt, is Rita Skeeter.
From book 4, from the Goblet of Fire and onwards.
Again, really great casting here.
Brilliant
fantastic casting.
Really good.
I know that there are characters in that book that are all out evil. Dolores Umbridge is, in my opinion, one of the 2 most evil people ever written down on paper. Right?
Well, actually, Stephen King actually said she's the perfect Villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her
I think
and
she's
Percy
perfect
Wetmore.
evil character.
Yeah, 100%. Percy Wetmore from the Green Mile and
Oh,
Dolores Umbridge, because they're human. I know that Dolores has magic, but they're human and they're so evil. But what I love about Rita Skeeter is, like, she is, whereas you know where you stand with Bellatrix, you know where you stand with Dolores Umbridge. With Rita, it's just such an insidiously vile twisting of the facts, like typical press.
It's perfect. It's a perfect depiction of journalism. Even in the wizarding world where you don't have to make stuff up, you could do the job fairly. The fact that she's got that pen that writes stuff down and she's interviewing people and it writes whatever the fuck it wants in a tabloid style. So everything Harry says to her is getting distorted as he's watching it being written. It's
and you really can't do anything about it. And there's that wonderful scene, and we don't realise it yet, when Hermione catches her.
Ladybird.
Yeah,
Ladybird,
we don't know it's her. We don't know what's happened to it, and then Hermione reveals the secret because
now,
we genuinely can't
that's not revealed until a few books later.
A few books later, yeah, and nobody knows why suddenly this awful woman.
I don't even think it makes it into the films. Any of that?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Which is a real shame because I think that.
That's kind of towards their end game. It helps them get to the end game. It gets them that positive press that is able to turn everything around.
Yeah, exactly. And she's one of the characters until that point. You can't imagine how they'll defeat her. You can almost see how they can defeat the others. As hard as it is to think about how you'd kill them.
Because there are rules. There are rules to something like that. Whereas with Rita, she's so despicable and so untrustworthy.
This is why J.K. Rowling is actually a really good writer, because she's used the device of being in a wizarding world to talk about things that really perturb her in the real world that are still applicable. So the government, journalism, authority, evil and good.
Class.
And it's really cleverly done. Honestly, it's one of them things you like. I think I can't be the only person that reads things like this and thinks, bloody hell, that's such a fucking clever idea. I think that when Lummy finally does, if he ever reads these books, I think he's going to be blown away like everybody else was.
He will love them.
He would. I think. I'm surprised he's never seen them, but I can understand why somebody like Lummy has never delved into the films. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just that. The kids' films, and things like the acting don't help. No. You know what I mean?
But it's got people in it though that he rates. So I'm surprised.
But I gave him so much leeway because I'd read the books.
Yeah.
So I'd faith that the story was going to be good, regardless of some of the shitty acting or some of the shitty effects.
Yeah.
I had faith that it was going somewhere. When you asked earlier on what order we saw them all in and what we read them in, I can't remember seeing the books before I finished them all. Seeing the films before I'd finished reading them all. But I must have done. I must have done, but I can't remember it.
Okay.
But that's the power of the books. I remember reading the books. I remember sometimes where I was when I was reading those books.
Oh, me too. Very vividly. Yeah.
I was on my bed at university for the first chunk, and the last lot I was in place in Kentish Town. I remember just devouring them from midnight. The bookshop at the end of my road had it, and me and my housemate went and queued up with a load of 12-year-olds.
It was a really weird time as well, because when that fifth book came out and all the adults in the world had admitted they'd been reading it and waiting to get the next book, it was very much a case of if you went up to talk to your best friend and they were reading a book, you go, oh sorry, you're reading Harry Potter. I respect that. I'll back off, and you just let them get on with it. And you just thought, I mean, it's like the last heyday of books. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A book that was so compelling, everybody had to read it, and we just haven't really had that since.
The last time for that happened, it was fucking Dan Brown, wasn't it? And it just there's other series, isn't there? Like Game of Thrones, people think they came out a lot quicker than they were. They've been out for quite some time. So Webby, who is your MVP? Who's your favorite Harry Potter character?
My favorite, I like Sirius.
Glad you said that. That's convenient. There we go. Gary Oldman.
I mean, I'm a massive Gary Oldman fan. I've seen his shitty stuff. I've tracked down stuff that's really hard to find by him. I've found plays by him on YouTube. I've seen a lot. I always really liked him as an actor. So that was a good get for the Harry Potter franchise.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Him and Daniel Radcliffe ended up being really good friends off the back of this as well.
Yeah.
And it's no surprise that actually Radcliffe's performances got way better. Way better. Over the next 3 films, because he's working with people like Oldman, I think, or Oldman in particular, I think, and he said that, Gary Oldman went to see him in Equus, and goes to see him in plays all the time. They've just got a really good friendship, and that's really cute. I think that's something quite lovely about that. And it's not the sort of film you'd expect Gary Oldman to do either. Yeah,
it's not, is it? And I think what I love about it, you've got the cream of British acting talent, but because the older actors and the experienced actors believe so fully in this story, then at no point are you watching it thinking, oh, they're just doing this for the paycheck. You could see that. And Gary Oldman, what a perfectly balanced line between terrifying at the beginning of this film and then like escaping because of Godfather on the end. Yeah. He's amazing.
And you know what? I mean, his arc is one that really strikes a chord with me because and it's going to sound totally ridiculous, but a similar thing happened to me with my dad. Was that as I approached the period in my life when my dad started entertaining me a bit more and giving me a bit more time because I wasn't a kid anymore, say from about 15 to 18, we got really, really close. And then he died, and that's why Sirius gets me so much. The bit where he falls through that fucking door into nowhere.
Jeez.
And the look on Bellatrix's face as she disappeared.
Now, do you know what? This is where I think the film got this better than the book, because the last word that he said to him in the book was, I think it was,
Pubes.
Stand back, Harry. I think he said stand back, Harry.
Oh,
I think he says stand back, Harry, because he's protecting him. In the book, it's something like that. But in the film, he turns around and says, "Good one, James."
Yeah.
And I think that is amazing because it gives Sirius's character way more meat to its bones because it's going, your life changed. James was the best thing that happened to you. James Potter was the best thing that happened to your life. You had an awful life with your family that hated you and you hated them. You didn't fit in. You used to go and stay at the Potter family house all the time. And when your best friend died, that's when your life went to shit again. So you're the peak of your life. And so when he turns around and calls Harry his father's name,
I can't wait to talk about those later books.
Me neither.
I can't wait to talk about what, even like Harry's surprise at finding out what his family were truly about. And anyway, let's leave those for the night. I don't even know if we're going to get time to move on.
I don't even think we're going to get on to the Goblet of Fire, to be honest.
Well, let's
let's finish with the best and worst. Webby, what is your
again, we've mentioned him. We've mentioned him. The thing is with this, you've got to tread carefully because the characters that you hate, you're meant to hate, really. So it's kind of like easy to pick. So I hate this guy as equally as I do in the books, as I do in the films as well. And it's Gilderoy Lockhart. Because he's a fake, he's a charlatan, he's a liar, he's lazy, he doesn't do what he
he's a snake oil salesman.
He's a fucking lazy. He could do it. He could easily do it. He's got a wand. He's got magical powers, but he prefers to make shit up and hoodwink people. And
what's even worse about him is he doesn't just make shit up and hoodwink people. He actually steals people's lives and then
stories.
He's
got all this admiration by all the housewives and all the all the kids really look up
to
him.
I love the way
I'll go on, Rich. Sorry.
No, go for it.
Now I was just going to say, isn't this an example of what housewives do to Harry and Meghan and William and Kate? Do you know what I mean? Isn't this an example of a certain generation of woman just being overpowered by a very charming
the way that Julie Walters I was going to say Julie Walters, the way that she reacts to it, it's just brilliant. The way she
but you've got like people in the fucking particularly Hermione, who's like, these books are bullshit, man. Why won't anybody listen to me? She was like, fucking crazy because she's the only one that don't get swept up in the whole charisma of the character. And that's another thing. He has got that charisma. He has got that. People show up to his book signings. People show up to see him. And he's got a stardom from this bloody bullshit that he spews. And there's so much going on that's real in the wizarding world. You're like, why would you even need some of these fake ass stories? You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my one to hate. I really need a wee, guys.
We're nearly done. So I struggled with this one. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to hold that wee for a little bit longer, Webby. So I got a couple of honourable mentions before I give you my favourite. So my honourable mention for my favourite Harry Potter character, Dobby. I mean, look at him. Look at him. It's Dobby. I fucking adore Dobby. And when he died, I was gutted. And just also, I share that with Big T. Nice one, Big T.
Big T.
Favorite character, Dobby.
Dude, much better in the book, though. The emotional weight of him dying in the book really actually, you know, there were a couple of bits, I'm not ashamed to admit, that actually made me tear up.
I cry at that point in the film every time. I cry at that point in the film every time. And I can't watch that.
No, the films have never made me cry. They just don't have the emotional weight. But the books really do. Because
I've got a dog that has got ears like Dobby. So it's like, and I call him Dobby. So, you know, and when we get home and I take his collar and lead off, I'm like, hey, you're a free house elf. And he sort of runs around. So it's like this kind of thing. So I attach the whole way too much to it. So yeah, honourable mention to Dobby. But my favourite character, and we've already mentioned him, is Professor Lupin.
Oh yeah,
just
he's great.
A really flawed but deep character that's got this wonderfully childlike humor or mischievousness to him that you kind of think if he wasn't there as Harry's teacher and if this whole Sirius Black thing wasn't going on, actually you think they'd probably get some mischief together. And I know his character changed towards the end because that whole thing with Tonks and the baby and him wanting to kind of latch on to Harry and Hermione and Ron and go on that mission and ignore his family. But I just think his whole character arc is awesome, and I just think it was meeting him changed everything for Harry.
Do you know,
because suddenly he knew so much more about his family and his dad, and
that's what I was just about to say. Lupin is privileged in that he knows a lot of things that Harry wants to know.
Yeah.
You know, and they do have conversations about his past.
Or Harry's privileged that Lupin knows things that Harry wants to know. You know, it's so I just think that Lupin is such a. And he's beautiful and he's gentle, but he's not because he's a fucking werewolf. And, you know, it's just, that's great. It's really great. My worst characters, now, we've mentioned her already. She's played beautifully. Dolores Umbridge, honourable mention to Imelda Staunton's portrayal of that, mainly because of what's going on in the world now. I think she is like a Priti Patel. In fact, I think she's wearing her clothes.
I think that this lady has got a doppelganger in real world television. Has anybody seen the most recent couple of series of Line of Duty?
No.
Yes. Michael. Yes, you're absolutely right.
There's a police officer lady who's quite high up in the chain, and she takes over the police team at one point, and she's fucking Umbridge to a T. She's got it.
Yeah.
She's the lady from Motherland. Have you ever seen Motherland?
Oh, yeah.
The main character. She's in Line of Duty, and she plays this like properly twisted real life version of Umbridge. You just want to fucking choke her.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a great shout. My other honourable mention for worst is Professor Slughorn.
Really?
Slughorn. Yeah, he's a fucking coward. You know, I get the only reason they needed him was so that they get the information about the Horcruxes, about what Tom Riddle had asked him, the question he'd asked him that many years ago. But actually, he's a big coward. You know, I don't like what he stands for.
Dirtbag sycophant who just all the popular wizards and you know just course off them, and he's got that exclusive club for
the Slug Club. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So all those reasons, I just feel like he needs an honourable mention. But my worst character, and again, he's portrayed brilliantly in the books, but he really comes to life in the films, and that's because of Richard Griffiths.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Rest in peace. He plays Uncle Vernon. Just that is the most exquisite casting for that part. It's just brilliant.
You know, this whole I don't even know what to say. He plays that perfect sort of. Okay, I mean, I don't know if I'm right. I'm not much of a thinking guy with brain guy. I'm not a brain guy, but I find the whole analogy with his family basically treating wizards like a second-class race. It's just racism in a nutshell, isn't it?
It is,
you know,
isn't it? Yeah.
that suburban.
But to the point that you don't want to even acknowledge, you know they exist, but you won't acknowledge that they exist.
Yeah.
You know,
but I mean,
it's
it's such a stupid fucking. When you think about that first bit where he gets so annoyed with the letters coming through the post every day, and them just filling his house full of letters, and he can't stop the magic, so he takes them all on holiday to a shack on an island. And he brings the door down, and he's like, "Oh, bastard!" You know,
it does like that beautiful little bit where he's like, "Oh, it's Sunday, no post on a Sunday," and
all the way through. It's a really funny clown, sinister slapstick character, all rolled in one.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head there. Sinister. Like at any point, as funny as that character is, at any point, I genuinely believe he would kill Harry and bury him in the garden if he could get away with it.
Oh, he would absolutely tweet that White Lives Matter. You know, he is. He is so many people. He is so many people that are voting in our current government and voting for Brexit and voting for. I know we don't normally like to get political things like that, but
he's a Remainer, isn't he? He's a
no, he's a Leaver.
Sorry, a Leaver.
He just, for me, he represents a lot about some of the, like, he'd refer to the current Prime Minister as Boris. You know, Boris will get it done. You know, and I was like, fuck off.
He'd say
it's not going to shag you, mate. Or probably would, to be honest.
You know, it's not just the sinister. He plays a perfect sort of pompous, blustering character who can't control his fucking emotion. Anytime anything happens outside of his realm of reality, he absolutely. Can't cope.
And let's go to Big T Moore, whose worst character is Draco Malfoy, coward and a bully.
I think it's a good call.
Actually, though, that character does elicit a little bit of sympathy from you later on in the book when you start to realise that he didn't really have a choice. He was born into being a Lannister.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout. But that is a good shout.
He was born into being a Malfoy, and he's just done what's expected of him without really questioning until later on whether it's right or wrong. And he does. He has an interesting arc as well, doesn't he?
He does, and I suppose I get that.
There is a little bit of redemption for him and his mum.
Yeah, you can almost forgive all of the Dracos at the very end, because I think half of us, it's all very good for us to be like behind the heroes, but genuinely, I do not know what I would do in a situation where, if I thought certain death was coming, would I have sight? Do you know what I mean? What would I do? Would I be a Gryffindor, even though that's the house I've been sorted in?
Would you go and same here? Would you go and unleash some kick-ass demonic fire on your classmate? Because that's what he does at the end. And that is really bad.
Yeah,
it's really bad at the end. What he does.
It's interesting that you're going about what houses. The reason we all want to be either Slytherin or Gryffindor is because we all want to be part of this fucking story. And Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff, do you know what I mean? They get the shitty end of the stick all the time.
They are.
Don't give me fucking Cedric Diggory. I mean, that's what you. That's all you got, Cedric Diggory.
Batman.
May I ask, chaps, what houses you are in? Did you get?
I was also Gryffindor.
I was Gryffindor too. Yeah.
3 Gryffindor. Yeah. What can I say?
It makes sense though. I'm seeing Ron, Harry, obviously, and a beautiful Hermione. Actually, no, he's slightly too beautiful to play.
Oh gosh, you big cheeky man! Thank you.
You big.
I don't know how to respond to compliments. It makes me embarrassed.
It's been a while. I tell you what, I used to compliment you every day at the cinema.
You did?
It's funny. I was going to mention that earlier on. I was like, we used to work together at the Odeon Cinema as well. But I feel like we met before we worked at the Odeon Cinema, and I think it might have been a youth theatre. Did you go to a youth?
Yeah, I did do a lot of like Leeds Children's Theatre, Civic Hall stuff.
Civic Hall, yeah. So it was there was a one that was down just below the Civic Hall. There was like this room upstairs, and there was a guy like a little. Yeah, I can't remember what it was called.
Was it? Oh, and it was where the Carriageworks Theatres is now.
Yeah.
Was it that one?
Yeah, and there's a guy called Ian who ran it, I think, or something like that.
Oh my God, Ian Goodison.
Yes. He used to have, you remember him, Nathan, you met him. He used to have a mohawk. He used to be a punk. And but his hair had stayed very slightly, even though he had short hair. The hair down the middle had stayed ever so slightly up. And it used to fascinate you, Webby, when we were in our first year at college.
And he set up the he used to be in the Cosmopolitan Players, and I was hanging around that place for years.
And then we end up. That's when I first started smoking vanilla tobacco.
Oh, it's what made me a Gryffindor. So before I was sent by my mother to Leeds Children's Theatre in those same chambers, to do
the Chamber of Secrets.
The Chamber of Secrets. Every Saturday morning, she would make me go. And I was so scared I couldn't even talk to my auntie because my auntie was quite scary without crying. And I went from being that within 6 months to being more like I am now. And it was all thanks to being sent to Leeds Children's Theatre. It literally changed my life.
They're really good.
I absolutely agree with you. I didn't go to
South Leeds.
I went to South Leeds Youth Theatre, and I think that is massively responsible. I often get I meet a lot of shy people, and I don't understand how you can just talk to anyone. I think it comes from that. Just get in with it. You know,
it's very again,
having a slightly louder voice than most people, just because you've learned how to project.
But it does really depend. So, Simsy, my mate Joe, I don't know if you watch Broadchurch, Nat, at all.
Yes, yeah.
He was Nige, the nasty Nige. That's my mate Simsy, and he tells a story about he used to go to not how it is now, but how it used to be, the Old Vic Youth Theatre on a Saturday. Yeah. And it was full of quite middle-class kids. And Joe's like, proper Bristolian. And he'd turn and just none of the kids would fucking talk to him. None of them. And he'd go out. And I just remember going one day, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here. None of the kids will talk to me. And his dad turned around and went, why do you think I park around the corner, son? Because none of the parents will talk to me either. And I was like, oh God, that's fucking heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking.
But
it's a completely different place now. And
I was probably a little bit like you and Nat. I was one of the kids who I wasn't invited into the circle of people that thought they were good at acting. Yeah. And I knew a secret that they didn't know. Yeah. All the people that thought they were really good were the fucking worst ones. The ones who used to bitch about how difficult acting is and nobody really understands it. And so, Jesus Christ, it's what you make it. You can make it a chore if you want. But I'm.
Again, I remember having a similar conversation to Simsy. It was like, when we first met, we met on tour, and I was like, what are you saying? Do you prefer more Stanislavski approach? It was my first acting job, second acting job. Do you prefer more Stanislavski approach or, Laban and Alexander technique? And he went, Gittins. I just pretend. And I was just like, that also works as well. And it's true, acting is playing with the imagination of a 6-year-old child without fear of being judged.
And you can indulge an actor. You can indulge an actor by paying them millions of dollars to go off and professionally pretend for months on end and do it method. But some people can just fucking do that without having to do all that. So you don't, it just depends on the individual, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I think we should probably call the end to proceedings there. It's we've been on
if we don't mind, Ladder will.
Yeah, I need a wee as well. But Natalie, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Oh, Nat, it's been fantastic.
Been brilliant. It's been one of my favourite. So not going to lie, don't tell Lummy. This has been one of my favourite shows. Yeah. Genuinely, this has been one of my favourite shows.
I can't slag him off. I love the big guy. I love him so much. I love him way more than he loves me, and I know it. I've always known it. But
don't you lie? He'll give you a thumb up when he's feeling emotional.
Yeah, I know. Me and you, Nat, we've always been kindred spirits, and I didn't really realise how much until tonight. When are you talking about Stephen King? We're like, shit, we should get together and talk about Stephen King.
We should
have our own show.
We should make little Stephen King babies. Oh my God! But genuinely thrilled and honoured to have been asked to come on. I've watched you, all three of you, over the weeks, and being like, oh my God, living my best life. But to actually be able to sort of talk about one of my favourite things, which is Harry Potter with you two, is
well, Nat, because we've got. I mean, we could make another 2 shows out of the rest of the material that we've got to go through. But will you come back the first show?
It might take 2 to do the rest of the film franchise, and then the Cursed Child and the Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic
I'm just finding excuses to hang out with that, so I can introduce
we don't need excuses, babe.
And then it gives Nathan a chance to rebuild all of his Lego models that he took apart recently, and then we can show them all to Nat.
I should plug that. I'm selling them if anybody wants to buy.
If anyone wants to buy some Harry Potter Lego, there we go.
A load of it.
There you go.
About selling it.
Thanks, Thank you for all of your comments tonight, ladies and gents. Thank you to Big T. Thank you to Pop Not Bra. Thank you to Enzo. Thank you to Joe. Thank you to Martin. Who else am I forgetting? Have I forgotten anybody? Thank you to Lummy for just popping on and saying hello and sort of mixing it all up and showing us the glamour of the stand-up comedy world. I mean, that was glitzy.
I wish I were there with him.
Oh, God, me too. Thank you to my shitty Wi-Fi and internet for being so absolute dog shit tonight.
You live in the capital of the country.
I live 2 miles from the city centre of this fucking capital city, and my internet's like this. But I do apologise for that, guys. But Nat, if you can come back on first show, first Monday of August, we would love to carry on this with.
I am all yours, absolutely all yours.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Nate. Thanks for. It's been a good show. Just enjoyed it, dude.
Yeah, it's been lovely. It's been really nice.
It's been really good. Yeah.
How close is your bladder to bursting, though?
Well, I could probably go another 5 minutes or so.
All right, cool.
Well, good for you to hold it in too much, is it? But I can't stop thinking about mine and Nat's firstborn child. I've got the names.
I've got
Cujo, little baby Cujo. What do you think?
I think it should be baby Cujo for a boy and baby Annie Carey for a girl. Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching the show. If you want to go over to our YouTube page and just give us a like and a subscribe, that mean the world to us. Go over to channel Lumb and watch all of Lummy's wonderful content that he has over there. Go over to our Twitter page at It's All Geek Twit and just follow us and just comment and do things like that. But most of all, what we need you to do is to share the shit out of our content, because we're trying to build a community here, ladies and gents. And the more people that we have in our community, the more people we have correcting us on our misplaced knowledge. But until next week, when we have Lummy back, and Nat will see you at the beginning of August. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been It's All to Me, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye. Love you.